On one ordinary day, millions of Koreans received a message from the country's leadership. It was said that monsters had appeared in the area of Mount Inwonsan, so all residents in the area were asked to evacuate immediately. Our main character, a 29-year-old guy named Lee Ho, didn't really believe these messages. It seemed to him that it was all just a prank. On the other hand, if this is really true, then people on Earth are in mortal danger, and that's no longer funny. There have been a lot of fake videos on the internet lately, but suddenly, on the streets of the city, Lee Ho saw a real monster. He was very surprised, but he understood that this goblin woman was asking him for help. Even though she's helpless and trying to put on a good face, it's still scary to look at her. It was the goblin woman who started crying and saying she wanted to return to her family. Lee Ho realized that he would have to make a very difficult choice. He did not want to help her, but it was becoming increasingly difficult for him to refuse. As a result, after some time he decided to help the monster and received something in return. This goblin woman gave him a silver goblin pill, although Lee Ho doesn't understand how to use it. While he was trying to figure out how to use this pill, breaking news was being broadcast on TV. Right now, strange buildings are appearing all over the world. They look like big towers. The soldiers who went on reconnaissance do not get in touch after seeing large monsters on these towers. It really does feel very much like the end of the world, but none of the inhabitants of the Earth were unprepared for it. Lee Ho thought he was safe while he was in his house, but it turned out that this was not the case. A huge explosion rang out on the street. Panic broke out among the people. No one knew what to do. Another huge tower appeared in the middle of the city, a very tall building with a lot of windows. Lee Ho went out onto the balcony to look at this tower with his own eyes. He had never seen such a tall structure in his life. He doesn't know if it's right to eat this goblin silver pill, but this is the first time he can do something so crazy. Sometimes you have to take a step forward and risk everything you have to become a true, living legend. Lee Ho immediately received a Sage status window. Now he will have a guide with the highest survival rates in this situation. Within seconds, he was holding a large blue book in his hands. It was supposed to tell about all the secrets of the new world. Very soon, the doors of the apocalypse will open. And in his new life, Lee Ho will have to train a lot to have a chance of survival. Thus, he began to act according to the instructions, abandoned everything and focused only on physical exertion. The doors of the apocalypse were open. It seemed to him that this was the end, but it turned out that this was only the beginning. The system reported that the boy had successfully passed the class determination test, and he was now a combat swordsman. The guy was very surprised and immediately started checking his specifications. After that, like a true fighting swordsman, he got his sword. Now he has to defend himself from monsters every second. Now he has to survive for an hour in the forest, or find a way to escape so it won't be easy. The system asked the boy to destroy as many monsters as possible. If he tried to escape, his progress would be significantly reduced. Now it's clear why the system advised him to do physical activity. Now he will really need his strength. Soon he heard an unknown creature approaching him, so the test had begun. It was time to act. When he saw his opponent, he was surprised. He thought it would be a scary goblin mutant, not an ordinary one-horned raccoon. It seemed so until the creature got angry and prepared its claws. So the battle with this crazy raccoon has begun, if it weren't funny. But this is not a battle for life, but for death. Very quickly, this raccoon was destroyed with the help of basic sword skills. Now the guy received experience points. So far, everything is quite simple during training, although the level of complexity may increase in the future. You need to increase your mana level while hunting in order to use your skills more often in the future. Almost without stopping, Lee Ho destroyed entire flocks of raccoons. Soon these notes will be listed in the Red Book. It was an easy job for which Lee Ho received additional health and mana levels, and his stats increased. Since he has a Sage status window, his level will increase more slowly than other players. Of course he is unhappy, but this is a fair price for additional information from the system. So there are something like penalties for owning a Sage status window. You'll have to put up with that. Only a little later did the guy begin to realize that the help system was a bug in the game that could help him. The training continued. With each new challenge, Lee Ho became stronger and stronger. Destroying the one-horned raccoons didn't take much time, but brought easy experience points and stat boosts. This young guy is still in the first level right now, but he is constantly accumulating available points. To move to each next level, more and more points are required. For Lee Ho, it will be a simple task to increase his stats using the system bug, and only then raise his level. For a combat avenger, the best option is to increase strength and agility. With the help of strength, his attacks will become more powerful, and agility will help him react faster to dangers. The one-horned raccoon is not a very strong opponent even for training. Li Ho easily destroys it with the first blow. He needs to kill more of these monsters, and to do this he needs to find their habitat. Finding these monsters became much easier after he increased his sensitivity level. He began to sense their approach from a kilometer away. At this moment, the system reported that a hidden quest had been activated, and all the monsters had to be destroyed again. This means that the level of difficulty of the task increases, and now Li Ho must destroy the one-horned raccoon alpha. This is no longer a small monster. This is a real alpha male who will be much more difficult to fight. Only at the last moment did Li Ho manage to dodge the attack of this raccoon. If he had had a worse reaction, he would have turned into a steak. The incredible speed of this alpha raccoon is immediately noticeable, making him a real boss in this jungle. First, you need to calm down and come up with a battle strategy. But the guy doesn't have time for all that. He will have to fight based on his own instincts. Only the ability to work with a sword can save his life. It really helped. After a few minutes the battle was over, the alpha one-horned raccoon was destroyed. Soon, the system reported that the training had been successfully completed. This hour had passed too quickly. Li Ho didn't have time to understand anything, but within a few seconds he found himself in a completely different place. There were a large number of other young people around him, and it was obvious that they were all here against their own will. Soon, the people were informed that they had all completed their training and were now in the tower. Some immediately began to panic and ask to go home, but Li Ho tried to remain calm. If he didn't know the end of the world had come, he would have been in the same state of shock as everyone else. The main thing now is not to panic, but to remain calm and focused. This will increase the chances of survival. Soon, a large and white rabbit appeared among these people. His name is Kumkum. He is on the 55th level. Li Ho immediately decided to ask a question. The guy is trying to understand what he should do, considering that this is really the end of the world. The rabbit really liked this question. He said that everyone around would participate in the game and risk their own lives. Of course, everyone around them was shocked. Just yesterday, they were enjoying their peaceful lives, and today, they have to fight to stay alive. Now all the people of Earth are in this tower. They must work as a team to complete missions on each floor, and thus rise higher. Of course, everyone hopes that they can return to normal life if they reach the top floor of the tower. Kumkum replied that he didn't know. They had to do everything to get to the top, and what would happen next was unknown. He asked not to try to find meaning in the game's usual tasks, and reminded players that they have no choice. If they refuse to work as a team, they will face a very cruel and swift death. He also recalled that a large number of people died during the training phase, so few managed to reach this level. Li Ho didn't even think about it. He thought learning was the easiest part of the game, but most people failed to overcome this barrier. He immediately started thinking about his loved ones, which made the guy really panic. He doesn't have time for sympathy, because Kumkum is trying to figure out if there are any players who want to kill him right now. In order to return home, he must die, so whoever helps him with this will receive a special reward. Let us remind you that this white rabbit is at level 55, although it does not look strong and powerful on the outside. Li Ho decided to stay behind and observe what would happen next, although at that moment the system spoke to him. He was told that he had to help the manager downstairs get home, so he would have to kill this rabbit. Up until this point, the guide had not advised him of anything bad, although this advice could prove fatal. While Li Ho tried to dare to attack, another player with a sword decided to do all the dirty work for him. This guy thought it would be an easy task, and if the Kumkum wanted to die so badly, then he was ready to help him. He took out his long and sharp sword and prepared to cut off the rabbit's head. Unfortunately, he failed to do so, as less than a second later he missed a powerful punch to the face. Everyone around was shocked. Some even got drops of this guy's blood on them. Kumkum smiled, apologized, and said that he accidentally hit back. Now this rabbit looks nothing like its previous version. It looks like it took a double dose of steroids. The player who tried to kill the rabbit died, and now Li Ho realized what could have been in his place. He realized that even though it was just a game, everything was real here, and he would have to pay for every wrong step he took. Nevertheless, the system still advised Li Ho to help the rabbit return home, as strange as it might sound. Kumkum continued to ask for help from the other players, but now they were all scared and did not dare to attack him. At this moment, the Sage status window was called up, and Li Ho began to see all his possibilities. He realized that he had additional skills that he had not even suspected, such as the Eye of a Sage. With this skill, Li Ho looked at the rabbit Kumkum, and now everything became clear to him. He said he wanted to help the rabbit get home, even though everyone around him thought the idea was crazy. Lee Ho said that his current level doesn't matter if he wants to do a good deed and help the rabbit. Kumkum smiled and asked to be sent home, at which point Lee Ho picked up his sword. The girl standing nearby tried to stop him. She reminded him of what happened to the man who tried to help the rabbit. Everyone else also took up her initiative and started trying to stop Lee Ho. They believe it is too dangerous. The guy assured them that he had the situation under control and had a plan, so they didn't have to worry about him. As soon as Lee Ho took out his sword, the rabbit turned into a rabid monster again and began to approach him. At that moment, seconds before potential death, Lee Ho realized that there was something strange about this rabbit's words. Lee Ho is sure that there are 25 people in this space, but the rabbit said that 24 players will participate in this game. It was hardly an ordinary mistake. The terror of meeting a level 55th monster and the fear that it might kill, all of it was intentional. At that moment, the rabbit approached the boy and struck him hard on the head, shocking the people around him. It turns out that this wasn't enough to kill Lee Ho, all because he found the reason why Kumkum got the number wrong. Actually, there are 24 people here, because the guy who was destroyed at the very beginning was just a hologram made by the Kumkum. The rabbit smiled. He was really surprised and admitted that Lee Ho was a very smart and skillful guy. The rabbit is also just a hologram. It immediately disappears as soon as you attack it. All its characteristics are at 0 level. For those who are brave, there will always be a chance to get through this game and reach the finals. For his intelligence and bravery, Lee Ho immediately received a characteristic point. Everyone around him watched him as if he were a real hero. He explained that he was lucky. He saw blood run through Seol Che. Her face and clothes should have been covered in blood, but that didn't happen. Thus, he realized that it was all just a show, even if not everyone agreed with his theory. At this moment, a big and strong guy named Kim Seo Yeon approached him. He is on the 4th level and thinks that Lee Ho is lucky. He finds it strange that Lee Ho is only at level 1, even though they have already been trained, so he is either weak or too stupid. This means that Lee Ho will easily die in the future, so it's better for him to give his stat points to someone else. Lee Ho had never seen such impudence. Of course, he refused to help Kim, and used those stat points for his own benefit. Thus, a new conflict was born. If no one intervenes, a fight awaits us. Through his experience, Lee Ho understands that the best solution is to avoid people like Kim. The conflict was stopped because players were informed that the gold distribution would begin from that moment. They can use gold in the shop, and additional gold will be awarded based on the number of monsters they have destroyed. In this zone, the player with the largest amount of starting gold will receive 7,400 coins. The players began to discuss their results and marvel at the winner's performance. It turned out that Lee Ho took first place. He destroyed many more monsters than everyone else. Lee Ho is not going to reveal this information because jealousy among other players could lead to conflicts. There are 3 main things you can do with gold, the most important, of course, being buying items in the store. You can also increase your skill level and increase your stats, although this is quite expensive, especially if you are low on gold. Lee Ho could no longer wear his old sports uniform, so he decided to buy himself something new at the store. A little later, Seol Chai approached him. She said she needed advice. Despite his weak level, she was surprised to see his courage, and therefore decided to turn to him. He saw all her characteristics through the system, and advised her to exercise more often to increase her endurance level. She can also spend gold to raise her stats, but this still won't be able to fully compensate for the weak level. Soon, the players were informed that the task on the first floor would begin soon. They must all join together in groups of 3 to complete the mission, and they will be given 30 minutes to do so. Lee Ho expected that they would have a group task, but he hoped it would be later. Soon, players began to tell other players about their class. This was done to create teams and complement each other. Seol Che was the first to suggest that Lee Ho join the team, and he had no reason to refuse. Everyone else, on the contrary, did not want to join them, probably because Lee Ho was at a very weak level. Level 4 players look very relaxed. They act as if they have already completed this game. Everyone around me had already formed their own groups, so there were almost no options left for creating a team. Soon, 30 minutes will have passed. Incomplete groups will be filled randomly, and the task on the first floor will soon begin. It turned out that Lee Ho was not very lucky. The third member of his team was the cheeky Kim. It's hard to believe that this fool turned out to be less popular than Lee Ho, even though he is at level 4. He will be difficult to work with, but Lee Ho has no other choice, so he must do everything he can to succeed in the mission. The task is quite simple and clear. You need to destroy a squad of kobolds, and the team has 12 hours to do this. Kim said he could do it alone. and asked others not to bother him. Lee Ho reminded him that this was a team task, but these words angered his partner even more, making it almost impossible to cooperate with him. Lee Ho decided not to conflict with him and try to give this fool a chance to prove himself. Meanwhile, Sol Che was visibly nervous. She understood that she was in a difficult situation and was worried about the success of this mission. While they were looking for a pack of monsters, they noticed that there were a huge number of different bugs around, too many of them. With each passing minute, Seal Chai became more and more nervous, feeling that the kobolds would prove to be too strong for them. Lee Ho assured that these monsters are stronger than raccoons, but he is sure that they will be able to defeat them, because this is only the initial level of difficulty. Soon they met their first opponent. These monsters are very similar to werewolves. They are on the 5th level. Lee Ho suggested that they first look around the area. It would be too dangerous to attack because they didn't know where the other monsters were. Kim is not used to hiding. He is ready to jump towards dangers and fight even against hundreds of monsters. It's hard to understand whether it's bravery or, on the contrary, mental retardation. But he started to attack and struck the first blow. He wanted to get the maximum number of attribute points and show all the players in the game that he was the best. Lee Ho immediately realized that this was a stupid act. It was wrong to fight the monster without support, but now it was too late to think about it. Seol Che immediately ran forward to help. She activated the sorcerer's power. They were very lucky that there were no other monsters around, so they should easily defeat one kobold. The system reported that these are passive monsters. They will not attack unless provoked. Meanwhile, Kim activated the Stone Fist skill and attempted to destroy his opponent with one blow. He hit it really hard and didn't even notice that another monster appeared behind him. These guys don't need to be angered because if you make them angry, then you'll be in big trouble. Kim realized this too late. Now he, like all the other members of his team, is in big trouble. He tried not to panic and hoped that the other members of his team would help in this battle. If Lee Ho doesn't intervene in this battle, his friends will die very quickly, and without them, he won't be able to complete this mission. Kobolds felt fear and weakness, although they are passive monsters, but if you anger them, they become incredibly active. At the last moment, when it seemed that death awaited Seol Che, Lee Ho intervened and protected the girl with his sword. He destroyed the monster with one blow. It was truly powerful and worthy of respect. Now, even Kim will have to admit that this loser, who is on the same team with him, is also capable of brave deeds. Sol Che, after being rescued, finally fell in love with her new hero. Lee Ho managed to do this with the help of extraordinary fruits in the jungle. He saw that the beetles were eating everything around them, but they did not touch the poisonous apple, and therefore he used this fruit to defeat the kobold. These monsters have no protection against poison, so these fruits may be the key to successfully completing the first mission. Kim was extremely dissatisfied. He wanted to become the hero of this stage, but it turned out that he was just a loser. That's why he started yelling at Lee Ho and accused him of hiding in the bushes instead of helping his team right away. Kim believes that he is the one who defeated these monsters, and he is the one who should be considered the leader of this pitiful team. It seems like this guy is crazy. Maybe he suffered a lot of head injuries in his childhood, so his brain only works at half capacity. They soon found a kobold settlement and decided to attack and destroy these monsters. Kim tried to do this with his iron fists. He believes that this is enough to destroy any opponent. This strategy was not very successful. His companions at this time successfully destroyed the monsters with the help of a poisonous apple. If you smear your sword with poison, then destroying monsters turns into child's play. In this way, Lee Ho and Seol Che easily gained additional stat points while Kim watched them with envy. He turned out to be too stupid to use the poisonous apples, which is why he had huge problems in the battle with the monsters. He was very lucky to have a guy like Lee Ho on his team, because without him he would have been dead a long time ago. Now that Lee Ho had saved his life for the second time in one day, Kim decided to thank him for it. The task was successfully completed and the team returned to the lobby feeling like true winners. Of course, only Kim did not feel the same confidence as at the very beginning. He understands that he failed the first stage. Each of them has received a level increase, although Lee Ho is still the weakest of them all, as strange as that may sound. It turned out that there was no one on the first floor yet, so they were the first to complete this task because they were able to find the monster's weak spot. Seol Che believes that it's not just luck. She admits that the first task was successfully completed only with the help of Lee Ho's intelligence. Soon the players started returning after completing the first mission, all of them looking tired. Lee Ho began to suspect that all these players had also found poisonous apples. He was also curious if everyone would be able to go back, because the task was really difficult, especially considering they were newbies. Some returned very badly injured, and some players were mentally broken after what they saw. Soon, the players were informed that all groups had completed the first task and 6 teams had returned alive. Obviously, there were losses. 8 players never returned at all, so they died during this stage. Lee Ho expected that it would be difficult for everyone to return alive, but 8 dead players was too much. He wondered how many more people would die in this game, whether he would have to walk over the heads of the dead in order to achieve his goal. The groups that did not lose a single player, as well as the team that won the task, will each receive 1,000 gold coins. Lee Ho received 2,000 coins for both bonuses. He is satisfied because the gold is insurance for his future survival. He must accumulate the maximum number of these coins in order to be calm in the future. The players decided to find out who took first place. Of course, everyone is interested in seeing the strongest among them. This time, Lee Ho decided to reveal the secret and say that their team won first place, but Kim beat him to it. Everyone around was surprised that they took first place, because among them there was only a player at the first level. Now everyone around him is sure that Lee Ho does almost nothing, and all the dirty work is done for him by other team members, but he is happy with this fame. Seol Chae, unable to listen to her friend being insulted, decided to intervene and tell what really happened. Lee Ho stopped her and explained that there was nothing wrong with that. They wouldn't listen to them anyway, so it was better not to even try to convince others of that. Some players have already become quite famous through their successes. Jun Sung is at level 8 and believes that everyone needs to focus. Jun Ho agrees and urges the other players to work as a team because only then will they be able to succeed. Thus, these two are already becoming true leaders of the team, although this is only the beginning of the game. Soon, everything around changed. The fire changed color and the system reported a potential danger. They were informed that the survival rate at the first level was below average, so now they had an additional task ahead of them. Everyone around was scared and nervous, especially when they heard that the deadly task would soon begin. They must choose one player to complete the deadly task. They only have 5 minutes to do this. If they don't choose anyone, they will automatically vote against themselves. Voting may mean potential death for another member of the game, but it's better for someone else to die than for you to die. Seol Chae believes that everyone should vote for themselves, in which case no one will have to perform a deadly task. The girl was immediately told that this was a stupid strategy, because in this case it could turn out that they would all be doomed to death. With every second, time became less and less, leading to real panic among the players. They soon realized that they had to make a choice against Lee Ho, because he was only at the second level, meaning he was the weakest of all. It was too cruel, but they have to make their choice, and they have no other options left. However, Lee Ho remained calm and even smiled. He said he expected this, given the atmosphere. His girlfriend tried to change public opinion and dissuade them from voting against him, but no one listened to her. Lee Ho understands that there is almost no trust in him, so most likely he will have to go through this deadly task. Of course, there were several reasons for this, but the main reason is that he is the weakest player, so no one feels sorry for pushing him to death. Everyone around immediately forgot about the rules of the community. They forgot that the strong should protect the weak. That's what happens when people panic. Everyone begins to defend themselves. The masks are immediately removed from their faces, and everything secret becomes open. Of all of them, Kim seemed to be the happiest about this decision. He had disliked Lee Ho for too long. It was the perfect opportunity to get rid of him. It was a cruel reminder that the end of the world had truly begun, and now the path to a deadly task was open for Lee Ho. Everyone around him was afraid to even look him in the eye. Behind him were people with guilty expressions on their faces, but that didn't make it any easier. Lee Ho had no choice but to step forward and do so, even at the risk of death. Oddly enough, the system recommends taking part in the deadly mission, because Lee Ho has a high chance of successfully completing this mission. He went towards his death with his head held high. All that was left to do was wait for the outcome. Of course they were upset, even though most of them didn't know Lee Ho well, but they felt they had done something wrong. Kim disagrees with this. He believes that everyone gets what they deserve, so Lee Ho deserved to die. This loser did nothing and just tried to be on the team that Kim was leading. At this moment, Seol Chae intervened in the conversation and reminded this fool who was really leading the team forward. Kim had to admit that it was true, but he still hoped that he wouldn't come back alive. Only Seol Chae hopes that her friend will find the strength to overcome the difficulties and complete this deadly task. She believes that he will return safe and sound. It's not just faith, it's a strong conviction. The task of death is not a gift at all. Everything around looks creepy, as if he has fallen into a real horror movie. Lee Ho didn't look upset. He remembered that the system advised him to try to complete this task, so there was a chance of success. This is the perfect opportunity to get away from the rude team members and focus on your own progress. A group of kobolds has returned from hunting. Now the fun begins. A deadly mission begins. Lee Ho must defeat not only a squad of monsters, but also their boss. The kobold leader is the boss of this dungeon. He is a level 12th monster, but still has a weakness to poison. This means that he can be defeated in the same way as other kobolds, using a poisoned apple. This would not be an easy task. Lee Ho understood that. But despite the difficulties, he drew his sword and rushed to attack. With the help of basic sword skills, he was able to destroy several monsters at once. Now that he has destroyed all the squad members, all that remains is to deal with the boss, although this is the most difficult task. Despite the difference in levels, Lee Ho still continued to attack aggressively and deliver powerful blows to the enemy. The boss was able to minimize the blow by jumping back during the attack, which already shows his combat intelligence. Usually monsters are much stupider, but this one is really smart and knows how to use weapons. It seemed that way until the boss monster turned around and started running away at top speed. Lee Ho realized that he had to catch up with him and seize this opportunity. It turned out that the boss wasn't as powerful as it seemed. It seemed like anyone who got here could complete this mission. Lee Ho was close to destroying the boss, but at the last moment something strange happened. It felt like the world had stopped. Raising his head up, he saw a blood moon. The kobold must have reacted to the moonlight. He forgot about the pain, turned around, and struck back. It seems that Lee Ho is in big trouble. Meanwhile, the players continued to await the outcome of this mission, some of them expecting Lee Ho to die, while others hoped he would remain alive. Kim is sure that this guy has been dead for a long time. He is so weak that he had no chance of completing the deadly task, and soon everyone will understand this. Because of these words, Seol-chae started yelling at him. She reminded him that even if the world is in such a bad state, people should still have a conscience. They started yelling at each other. A fight could start soon, and there are no guarantees that Kim will win. At that moment, someone informed them that the portal was opening, so now the outcome of the deadly mission would become clear. Everyone around tensed up and turned all their attention to the portal. It was hard to even believe that Lee Ho could actually be alive. Soon they all saw that he had come out of the portal. He had returned alive, although he had been injured. During the battle with the monster, the system warned that you should be careful, because the boss's abilities increase when his eyes turn red. This happens during a blood moon, and today is one of those days, so Lee Ho is very unlucky. He understood that he was fighting a real devil, although if he delivered the right blow at the right time, this mission could be successfully completed. He understood that the situation was very difficult. He was wounded, and finding the right moment to attack would be difficult. To begin with, I decided to choose defensive tactics in order not to die at the very beginning of the battle. The guy saw the monster punch a hole in the tree like it was soft tofu, which was enough to scare most players. At that moment, he thought of something interesting. His grandfather always said that a sword cannot break a wall, but a nail can pierce it. Previously, he believed that a sword was a weapon with which one could only cut one's opponents. Now he looks at it completely differently and is ready to try a new path for the sake of victory. He wants to use his opponent's momentum as he approaches him and then add his own weight to it. With incredible speed, the boss approached him and prepared to deliver the final blow. Everything happened as fast as possible. But with the help of an incredible reaction, Lee Ho managed to strike a blow to overtake. Now the counterstrike was added to the basic sword skills. He succeeded, and that could be considered a victory. The deadly mission has been accomplished, and now it's time to see who's actually happy to see him. Kim could not help but take advantage of this opportunity. He realized that now Lee Ho would be a superstar, and they should become friends. He got ahead of Seol-chae, hit her, and ran to hug his best friend as tightly as possible. Of course, all this looked extremely strange. 5 minutes ago, he was sure that Lee Ho was dead, and now he calls him his best friend. He said that he always believed in Lee Ho, and was sure that he would return from the deadly mission, even though everyone else didn't believe it. He said that no deadly mission could stop the greatest warrior in the universe. After that, all the players approached him to understand what happened. They found it hard to believe that he had completed a deadly task. They are glad that he was able to stay alive, and understand that if he went through such a difficult test, he gained a lot of experience. That's why no one can understand why his current level hasn't changed at all. It's some kind of anomaly. He thought he was used to this feeling, but it seemed the world wanted the weak to remain weak. At this moment, he began to remember his past, when he got a good grade on a school exam, but no one believed him. In this life, everyone around him constantly makes fun of Lee Ho. as if they are not giving him a chance to prove himself and show his true potential. Strong people try to crush the weak as soon as they see an opportunity. In any case, right now he needs to stay calm and ignore all of this. Plus, he always has a girlfriend by his side who can step in and protect him from all the evil people in the world. She said that they know nothing and understand nothing, and she is not going to watch her friend being insulted. Kim completely agreed with her. He is also upset that no one threw a party in honor of the return of a superhero named Lee Ho. Meanwhile, everyone around looks at Kim as a fool who changes his mind every 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Lee Ho feels calm. Whatever happens, he wants everyone around him to stay alive. For that to happen, he has to show them something compelling, and he's willing to do that. Soon, the boy took out a rare-ranked indomitable sword, its features being extraordinary strength and increased attack characteristics. The increased attack stat is considered cheating, especially considering that there is no additional information about this item. Now everyone around recognizes that this guy is really special. Seol Che was right. Such a precious item is much more valuable than experience points as an aid to survival. Surely all these people completely forgot that they almost brought him to death. Now they pretend like nothing happened, even though a few hours ago they pushed him towards the devil. Junho is ready to admit it. He understands that they acted selfishly, and only now is he ready to accept his mistake. They understood that they were voting against him because he had the lowest level, and it was the same as a silent exile. They are very ashamed of their actions and are ready to apologize just to repair their relationship with Lee Ho. Although not everyone agrees with the apology, someone had to go on a deadly mission anyway, so they had no choice. If Lee Ho returned with a rare item, it means the strategy was correct. At least that's what some participants thought. Lee Ho intervened in the conversation and said that he didn't need an apology. The main thing is that this doesn't happen again in the future. They must understand that the tower is trying to divide them, and that is why it is doing such tasks. The tower tries to provoke distrust between the participants, start conflicts, and does everything to push them onto the path to death. Now that Lee Ho had said this, the other players in the game understood what he meant and looked at the situation from a different perspective. His return after a deadly mission should be seen as a possibility. He has already shown that their actions may contradict the tower's intentions. He will do everything to find ways to survive for all players, and will not stop until he reaches the highest floor. Everyone around them must prepare for the difficult journey, and if they succeed, they will be able to return to their normal lives. There is no guarantee of this, but this goal deserves people to believe in it, because it is better than accepting inevitable death. Seol Che once again supported her friend and said that they should all unite and act as a true team. All these motivational speeches really influenced the other participants. They felt their faith in themselves again. It was at this moment that the Kumkum Rabbit appeared again, reminding us that the players were participating in a survival game. The second level task will take place among 15 players in this location. They should prepare for a battle royale, because our last mission will seem like child's play compared to this one. The rabbit also reminded that this is just the initial level, so you shouldn't panic too early and lose faith in your own strength. Now it's time to explain the rules. In the second level task, there will be 16 players and 16 doubles, so a total of 32 people. The conditions for completing this task are quite simple. Players must kill all of their doubles. Their doppelgangers will not only have the same performance, but also the same memories, so this task will not be very easy. And most importantly, a player who kills a double will not receive a reward, while a player who kills another player will receive a lot of gold and experience points. In other words, this mission could be an opportunity for them. At least that's what the sneaky rabbit Kumkum thinks. That is, he hints that they should kill each other if they want to get gold and experience points. For every 30 minutes during which there is no killing, they will be summoned to the lobby and face a huge catastrophe. This huge monster of unknown magnitude is a disaster, and meeting it is the worst thing that can happen to a person. Lee Ho can't believe that this stupid rabbit really thinks they can defeat this monster. The test began. From the very beginning, most of the players almost died. They were very lucky to stay alive. Lee Ho was able to save the people around him, but it was too early to rejoice because the most difficult test was ahead. A huge monster approaches him, unwilling to talk, only wanting to crush bones and eat human entrails. This is a real disaster. The rabbit wasn't kidding when he said this. They have all passed the training and the first test of the tower, but now there is no understanding of how to complete this task. People are experiencing real panic. If it weren't for Lee Ho's reaction, some would have already said goodbye to life. Leo decided to remember what the rabbit Kumkum was talking about. Perhaps his words contained a clue, a key to passing the test. It seems like he was deliberately forcing them to take the mission seriously. So it's all just a demonstration. No one will hurt them. Of course, this is just Lee Ho's theory, because at this very moment, as he thinks about it, his friends feel the touch of death in the background. Soon the panic was stopped. They began to attack the monster and try to stop it. Now everyone understands that this is not a show at all. The tower really wants to destroy them, and will do everything possible to do so. Sol Che tries to help and heal other players, but her mana runs out very quickly. No one has died yet, but it's only a matter of time, so Lee Ho decided to order all players to retreat immediately. If he can't stop this huge monster, they will all die. The idea is of course absurd, although if you combine the crazy sword technique and the counterattack, you can achieve success. Lee Ho really believes in what he's doing, but faith alone isn't enough. In order to defeat such a big monster, something more is needed. You have to have a huge heart, and as it turns out, this guy has no problem with that either. Everyone around was shocked. His attack really worked and the monster disappeared. It was a true miracle, and everything seemed so impossible that even Lee Ho could not believe his own success. Soon everyone was celebrating the victory. They understand that more challenges await them in the future, but now they can relax a little. Lee Ho felt something change. The system informed him that he was using a force that was above his limit, so he would be powerless for 3 minutes. It was at this moment that he lost consciousness and fell to the ground. He was lucky that he didn't hit his head too hard. After 3 minutes, his condition changed. The energy in his body was restored and he regained consciousness. There were many people around him, all of them trying to help their hero and check if everything was okay with him. They find it hard to believe that with such incredible power, he has remained humble all this time. The Kumkum Rabbit appeared and explained that the huge monster was just a demonstration. It was done to cheer up the players a little. Although they almost died, the atmosphere became more cheerful, and that's the most important thing. He reminded them that every 30 minutes someone had to die, and if the players forgot about it, they would regret it very much. They must understand that their potential killers may be standing next to them, waiting for the perfect moment to attack from behind. It will be hard to sleep at night after such words, but the problem is that he is absolutely right. After a short motivational speech, he said goodbye to the players and headed to the portal, his work completed for today. Now the players must act independently, without any prompts from the rabbit. And remember the rules of the game. The rules cannot be broken. If they can't find their doppelgangers, they will have to kill someone from their team, so they have to come up with a strategy. The players began to offer different options, and it was at this moment that Lee Ho intervened in the conversation. He looked carefully at his friends and said that he had a very interesting idea, and they should listen to him. He said that in this mission, only he would do something important, and began to talk about his plan in a quiet voice. It is not known exactly what he meant, but everyone around was shocked and could not believe their ears. Soon, he asked them to gather at the highest point of the second floor. If anyone other than him tried to act, that person could be considered a double. Not everyone agrees with his strategy, the warrior. Ansa-chan thinks he can come up with something more interesting. He is not sure that they should all obey his orders. At this moment, Lee Ho recalled the rabbit's words. If you kill a doppelganger, you will get nothing, but for killing players, they give gold and experience points. He hinted that any of the people around could become a killer, which means that there might not be any doppelgangers at all. The tower just wants them to kill each other. This is a brilliant plan. Lee Ho understands it and is not going to play by the tower's rules, so he thinks his way is the best. Jun Seong agrees with his strategy. This plan will really help them reduce injuries and deaths. Soon the second floor mission began. They had to kill at least one person in 30 minutes. Kim is not very happy with this plan. They gathered at the highest point of the second floor and did nothing. It's not quite right. He looked relaxed, and it was at that moment that he felt someone approaching behind him. It turned out to be Lee Ho. He immediately saw his giant partner because Kim can't even hide behind a tree. At first, it seemed like a normal, friendly conversation. Kim started laughing and said that his muscles were too big to hide from others. It was at this moment that his head was cut into 2 perfectly equal parts. This doesn't quite feel like a friendly conversation, it feels like a cruel and principled revenge. It turned out that before starting the mission, Lee Ho told the other players that only he would kill. No one else would have the right to do so. They accepted his terms, so now if he kills any of the players, he's sure they're doppelgangers. With the help of the system, he achieved an incredible level of sensitivity and acquired the skill of absolute perception. This helps him identify doppelgangers, which is why he decided to offer this plan to other players. His sensitivity reached an incredible level, although he had to spend almost half of his gold reserves to do so. He has increased the level of his filter, and now he can even feel breath at great distances. Soon he saw Kim in front of him. calmly walking through the forest and talking to himself. With the help of his sensitivity skill, Lee Ho immediately realized that he was not the real Kim, but his double. This doppelganger had an extremely unpleasant smell. It looked like it had spent a whole month in a dumpster. We've already seen everything that happened next. The double was killed, and the system officially recognized the first murder. He realized that he was facing a double, although he tried to pretend to be the original version of Kim until the very end. In any case, his method worked. The main thing is that everyone else did not disobey his orders. If all the other team members continue to be on the mountain, nothing bad should happen. It seemed so until the system reported another murder. This time the player was killed, not the doppelganger. This incredibly shocked the guy. He doesn't see the whole picture, so he doesn't understand what happened and who did it. He began to rush to solve all these problems, but in this world, everything happens extremely quickly. While he was searching for other players, the system reported that the killings were continuing. He saw another double in front of him. Now it was clear who was preventing him from working. In this case, only the sword method can help. I had to remove this worm from the road myself. All this time I was worried that his double might cause problems, but it turned out to be much simpler. When it seemed that the situation had finally become under control, Lee Ho noticed the appearance of another enemy. He very quickly analyzed the situation and realized that this was not a double at all, but another player. He has already been injured by his double, so now he doesn't trust anyone and asks Lee Ho to stay at a distance. I had to tell him what happened and explain that he was facing the real Lee Ho, who I shouldn't be afraid of. Only after that was Jun Seong finally able to relax and smile. This boy urgently needed help, so Lee Ho immediately took him to the witch Sol Che. It seemed to him that he had finally found his friends and could feel safe. But he quickly discovered that this was not the case. Using his sensitivity skill, he realized that he was facing dangerous doppelgangers who wanted him dead. He managed to get his sword out and start defending himself. Another second and it would have been too late to do anything. Lee Ho immediately felt that this situation was quite strange. These doppelgangers had started attacking him too actively from the very beginning, especially Seal Che. She probably understands his potential best of all, so she decided to kill him first. Lee Ho is very lucky that his progress has reached a new level. With the help of martial arts techniques, he can easily defend himself against enemies of a similar level. It seemed that the worst was behind him, but at that moment an arrow almost pierced his head through. Looking back, Lee Ho couldn't believe he was actually seeing this with his own eyes. It turned out that Jun Seong was the one who shot him. He was smiling and showed his desire to kill with his whole appearance. For a while, Lee Ho lost his sense of reality. He couldn't understand what was happening. I had to get out my sword and show these doppelgangers who the real martial arts master was. Jun Seong managed to move to a safe distance and hide. With a terrible smile on his face, he watched these events. In fact, this guy is at a high level of training. He is an archer, although he used to be a deep-sea fisherman. His hobby had always been hidden from others, but now it became obvious that he liked to hunt not only fish, but also people. He continued to laugh as if he had turned into a joker, which is probably why this situation seems funny. Lee Ho smiled back at him. He had been waiting to see the true face of this traitor for a long time, but he did not expect him to be so insane. It turned out that from the very beginning, Lee Ho knew he would get stabbed in the back, so he was also just playing a role. With the help of his sensitivity skill, he can see the statuses of other players, so the guy guessed that he was facing a crazed killer. All that remained was to wait for Jun Seong to show his true colors, and that moment soon arrived. Now it remains to understand the motives of this psycho, whether gold and statistics are really that important to him. This guy probably doesn't need reasons. In this world, they give him the opportunity to kill others, and he wants to take advantage of it. It always seemed like he had no choice, but it turned out that killing other people brought him immense pleasure. Now he aimed his arrow at Lee Ho and fired a little more, and another player would die. This is exactly what would have happened if Lee Ho had been a regular player without the help of the system. Jun Seong turned out to be a real psychopath and maniac, but now his time in this world must end. To begin with, Lee Ho will have to completely destroy these two dangerous doppelgangers. Only then will he be able to get to their boss. This will be very difficult to do, as they formed an almost perfect alliance, the best swordsman and healer together with the archer. It is unknown how Jun Seong was able to convince the doppelgangers to work for him, but we must admit that his plan is brilliant. In order to catch a big fish, you have to be very organized, and this guy really has all the necessary characteristics. He enjoys hurting other people. Like a true psychopath, he derives pleasure from human suffering. Lee Ho found himself in an extremely difficult situation. All conditions turned against him, but this does not mean that he will give up. He activated the skill of absolute sensitivity in order to finally stop his enemies. Lee Ho admits that they have assembled an outstanding combination of characteristics in one team, but even that won't be enough to defeat him. You can call him an extraordinary hero, or you can say that he is a simple cheater. In any case, he is truly special. In the face of true power, all these combinations of players and characteristics become powerless. Thus, within a few minutes, both doppelgangers were brutally and uncompromisingly killed. It was his turn to talk to the psychopath. A tough battle was expected, but this fool fell to his knees and began to beg for mercy. He said he had lost his mind, but now he admits all his mistakes and is ready to change and get on the right path. Of course, all this was just to distract Lee Ho and deliver a blunt blow. Psychopaths never get out of their role. Lee Ho is no longer a little boy. He is ready for any insidious intentions of his opponents, so he waited for the right moment to counterattack. A rather strange situation arose. The fisherman was trying to catch a fish and thought that it would not cause him any problems. But sometimes it turns out that there are much bigger fish in the world, and even an experienced fisherman can face incredible problems. Thus, not only were two doppelgangers killed, but also one of the team's players. Of course, this would lead to even bigger problems, as the system soon reported that Lee Ho had opened the blood path. By killing a person, he gained the opportunity to follow the path of blood. If he accepts this challenge, he will receive an improvement in his characteristics. At first, nothing was clear, but a little later an unknown woman appeared before him, and now he must make a choice. Lee Ho can accept this challenge and get a stat boost, but on the other hand, this challenge could be the last one in his life. In addition to improving his characteristics, he will also be able to control the doppelgangers, and it is now clear how exactly Jun Seong received the support of the doppelgangers. He will also be able to obtain legendary-level armor, access to legendary skills, exclusive talents, and stat boosts. Although he was nervous when he killed the doppelgangers, he knew they weren't human, so he did it without feeling guilty. From now on, he will have to deal with players more often. Among them will be those who choose the path of blood. He cannot accept such a choice. Any improvements in characteristics will not compare to the soul sold to the devil. Lee Ho refused this offer and decided that he would not become a crazy psychopath. Soon he returned to the mountain and saw happy players waiting for him. It seemed that Kim was the one who was most happy to see him, and it was obvious that he was nervous about his new friend. I must admit that his offer was difficult to accept, but now he thanks everyone for their trust. He told me that he had actually learned to distinguish between doppelgangers and thanked me for following all his instructions. Soon he asked people not to panic and said that his double was approaching them. Of course, everyone was shocked. People tried to remain calm, but each of them felt the approaching danger. Now they really have problems, which is why Lee Ho wanted to solve the problem with his doppelganger early. He would have done all of that, but his plan was thwarted by Jun Seong, and now it's too late to think about it. Now it's a game between him and his double, and all the other people don't know which one is the real one. At the moment, there are only 8 players left. If you reveal the 5 doppelgangers he has already met, then the individual players will be established. The problem is that his double has the same knowledge as him, so they even talk. Of course, it's not hard to guess that this completely changes the whole situation at once. Now no one will be able to trust Lee Ho. The doppelganger immediately took the initiative and began to assure others that he was the original. Now a lot depends on the players. They should not blindly trust one of Lee Ho. We must not forget that not only doppelgangers of players are here now, but also a doppelganger of Jun Seong. This guy is a high-level player leader who everyone trusts. He always supported everyone in difficult times. The double assured the players that the real Jun Seong was killed, and now they should not trust the killers. The double really chose a smart and interesting tactic to win. He used this situation to his advantage. The players decided to trust him. They took out their weapons and prepared to kill the real Lee Ho. Kim decided to stop the others. He said that even he could turn out to be a double, so they could not blindly trust the words of one party. The real Lee Ho tried to remain calm, even though he understood that the situation was not at all pleasant. Soon, he decided to take a step forward and tell the others that he had indeed killed the real Jun Seong. There is a fact that even his double is unaware of, and that is the fact that Jun Seong turned out to be a traitor. That's why Lee Ho took out his weapon and approached the doppelganger of this insidious psychopath. He dealt him a powerful blow with his sword, after which all the other players immediately prepared to defend themselves. If all of this is really true, then the real Lee Ho is a murderer, and they will no longer be able to trust him. He was the one who brought them all together, so all the odds are stacked in their favor. If a double kills a player, they cannot attack or risk being exposed. Although if Lee Ho can really see them, then by killing his double he will be able to confirm that he is the original. Only now did the players begin to suspect that Jun Seong had killed one of the players, and that was why Lee Ho had to act this way. Lee Ho confirmed their theory. He said that Jun Seong was a real devil, perfectly hiding his true face and waiting for the perfect moment. At this moment, one girl remembered how Jun Seong saved her life in a battle with monsters. She can't believe that anyone would consider him a devil, so she's ready to fight for his honor to the last drop of blood. Surprisingly, at that very moment, an arrow flew into her back and pierced her heart through. It's not hard to guess that Jun Seong did this, or to be more precise, his double. So another player was killed, and all the other players realized that Lee Ho had been telling the truth all along. This crazy devil has missed the face of fear. He will get incredible pleasure when he feels how people are afraid of him. The warrior Se-chan immediately intervened in this situation. He struck a well-aimed blow and killed Jun Seong. Now he admits that he was wrong to doubt Lee Ho, and is ready to do everything possible to regain his trust. Now everyone has recognized that Lee Ho is truly their leader, and they are ready to go even to the ends of the world on his orders. He wanted to seize the moment and voice his final proposal, but at that moment his double began to attack. It's always interesting to watch twins battle. Their characteristics are the same, but only one has to win. Everyone around started fighting with their doppelgangers. It's really interesting to watch, especially if you're not taking part in it. The doppelgangers have taken over their characteristics and strengths, but if you increase your level, you can complete this mission without any unnecessary losses. If it weren't for the freak Jun Seong, this task would have been accomplished much easier. Everyone wanted to avoid casualties, but what happened happened. Time cannot be turned back. Perhaps the situation in other zones with other players is even worse. Not everyone can pass the test as well as Lee Ho. Someone chooses the path of blood and is ready to sell their soul to the devil. People follow this path to survive, and they can be understood. The upcoming battle will be even more fierce. Lee Ho must become stronger to lead the people behind him. He seems too weak lately, but there must be a reason why he gained extraordinary abilities. Up until this point, everything had been going pretty well, but even now there are people who believe in him, and he will do everything he can to save them. Se-chan and other players approached him to thank him for his help. Despite his level, Lee Ho did more than anyone else. Now they guess that Lee Ho has gained some additional characteristics, besides his level, that help him be successful. This experienced warrior apologized for his mistrust and is now ready to become a support for Lee Ho in the future. He will no longer doubt and ignore such a leader, although Lee Ho believes that it is not necessary to go that far. Now they all hope that in the future this special boy will become their leader and lead them forward. A huge responsibility falls on his shoulders and he must accept it, because there is no other candidate for this role. Let's go back to virtual reality and see what happened 5 minutes before the end of the mission. The players destroyed almost all of their opponents, but one last doppelganger remained. Soon, Lee Ho found him and did what he had to. Now all the doppelgangers are destroyed. After returning to the lobby, the calculation of gold began according to the results of the work. Everyone received a reward for their own merits, and it even turned out that Kim earned significantly more than most of the players. So everyone acted according to Lee Ho's recommendations and received a good reward. He is satisfied with that. He is especially pleased with his own result because he earned the most than everyone else. He reached 10,000 coins on his balance and now has access to an improved store. In order to buy rare items, you need to increase the rank of the store, after which you can increase your martial arts level. He had unknowingly been using fighting techniques above his level and had now discovered the skill of a novice swordsman. After that, he decided to give Sol Che some gold. The girl was surprised but accepted the gift. She has always helped him, so now he wants to do something nice for her. In a place where survival sometimes requires killing others, they can laugh and rely on each other. They must support each team member and be true friends. Seol Chai is an important element of this team, and Lee Ho hopes that she will always be by his side in the future. The girl smiled and promised to become stronger. With this money, she increased the level of her healing abilities. After that, Lee Ho gave some coins to Kim so that he would increase his intelligence and stop being like a monkey. This guy really has potential. If raised properly, he could be very useful. Now they have had enough rest, and it is time to test the basic skill of the 3rd level. Soon the mission on the 3rd floor will begin. New adventures and troubles await the players, and they must be ready for it. The task is called a siege, and here they will meet players from other areas for the first time. The conditions for completing this mission are quite simple. Their group is tasked with attacking others, and they have 24 hours to do so. Players also received a temporary item, the Return Stone, a 3rd floor exclusive. While the players were upset about having to kill other people again, Lee Ho was trying to figure out how they should proceed. Soon, Kim went to the mountain. He thinks this mission is strange because death here will not be real. On this floor, the return stone returns them to their original position after death. It's really interesting. Lee Ho promised him 100 gold coins after the reconnaissance, so upon hearing this, Kim immediately agreed to those terms. He came extremely motivated and ready to destroy everything around him for the reward. Soon, with the help of his powerful blows, he was able to break through the gates of this fortress. Surprisingly, as soon as he went inside, the gate was immediately restored and closed. Ahead, he saw an altar and a group of people gathered there for an unknown mission. He immediately remembered Lee Ho's words about them not killing anyone, otherwise everyone would understand the purpose of the return stone. Kim is too stupid to listen to orders. He thinks they are just a bunch of low-level soldiers and he can quickly destroy them. That's what it seemed like until some unknown force hit him in the face and broke his nose. He tried to understand what had happened, but his vision deteriorated for a while and he began to lose consciousness. Soon, Kim found the strength to return to his team and tell them what had happened. He said he was shot with something that looked like a gun. It was a magic bullet, or something like that. It seemed completely impossible. Even Ants Chan, an experienced warrior, did not have such a weapon. This can only mean that their opponents have adopted the path of blood and received additional elements in the game. Now it is obvious that this battle will not be easy at all, but Sol Chai asks his leader not to worry. She is ready to support him even in the most difficult moments in life. That's what true support means. Everyone else also started shouting and said they were ready to do anything for the successful completion of the mission. It's always nice to see such motivation from your soldiers. It's great, and Lee Ho is ready to lead them to victory. While he was explaining the plan to his comrades, truly strange things were happening in this fortress. In the moonlight, Lee Ho still has a very useful second-floor skill. Incredible sensitivity is always needed in difficult situations. Looking more closely, he saw that only 2 guards were watching over the fortress. Of course, they can guess what the return stone is for, but most likely they will think that it is just a feature of Kim. As soon as this large bodybuilder approached the fortress walls, the archers immediately saw him and began to attack. This is different from what happened when he first came. He was very lucky to have a true friend by his side. He was able to protect Kim from sharp arrows, and with the help of his back, reached the walls of the fortress. Within seconds, the archers were brutally killed, leaving Lee Ho with no other choice. They can't screw up because their opponents will guess what the return stone is for. So all players must attack at full power. Kim ordered everyone to follow him in order to break through the fortress's protective doors. He prepared to use his stone fist, and at that moment he missed another powerful blow to his face. The goal was only scored at 0%, so his attack didn't work at all and didn't help anyone. From the upper wall, Lee Ho watched all this and could not understand what was happening. The guards can't understand why he left them alive, but now they're sure he won't be able to escape. They explained that no one would be able to escape from the woman who led them in this fortress. Her name is Song Soyeon. This female assassin is a 13th level. She has sniper skills and wields dangerous weapons. Lee Ho was shocked when he realized that he would have to fight a high-level assassin. It seems like she staged a real massacre on the second floor, and thanks to this, she received additional characteristics. Now she started attacking Lee Ho, and even his reaction speed was not enough to dodge these attacks. Her shot was accurate, so she had to drink a magic potion to restore her strength. Now Lee Ho will have something like a protective suit on his body. This can help in the battle with such a strong opponent. Analyzing her strengths and weaknesses, he guessed that she had not yet learned how to quickly restore her mana. Each shot takes a lot of energy, so you need to take advantage of that and destroy this woman. Lee Ho is lucky that he will not be going through this mission alone. Behind him is a team of like-minded people who are ready to die for their captain. They must break through and succeed. Only one of these 2 teams will survive. Let's go back a little and see how exactly they plan to succeed in this mission, because it was obvious from the very beginning that they would be shot at. Lee Ho explained that she wouldn't have enough bullets to kill Kim because they were magical, so they took up a lot of energy. So, if you survive 1 accurate hit, then your chances of winning will be much higher after that. All this is made possible by Sol Chai's extraordinary abilities, and today, her role is even more important than before. Soyeon ordered her men to attack and not stop until this battle was won. This is where the difficulties arise. During close combat, there is a risk of losing several comrades due to sniper shots. They need to get to the assassin as quickly as possible. Although to do this, they will have to destroy all opponents on their way. With each new battle, this team becomes more cohesive and dangerous. They help each other and work for the good of the team. Junho was able to protect his leader with his sword, but he was killed a second later. With every minute, more and more team members die. The situation begins to spiral out of control. This dangerous woman is causing too much trouble with her weapons. Of course, they all have the Stone of Return, so they can return to life, but that doesn't mean they can forget about the danger. With the help of his sword, Li Ho activated the skill of a novice swordsman and demonstrated his talents. He approached Soyeon and prepared to kill the leader of the rival team. His team members continued to attack. Kim activated the Stone Fist skill and prepared to show the power of the Hulk. At such moments, he realizes that this fool could really be very useful if he became at least a little smarter. Meanwhile, the leaders have met with each other. The assassin trying to understand how Li Ho can be so strong, even though he is only at the second level. The system reported that the altar was 30% captured. Now we need to get rid of the opposing player. It takes a few more players to completely occupy this territory, but all of this must be done only after the destruction of Soyeon. It won't be easy to do this. Although in close combat the sword becomes much more useful, she is still too strong an opponent. Seo Jun-ho is as skilled a swordsman as Li Ho. He is one of the strongest on the team and was previously a brilliant ping-pong player. In table tennis, where the outcome of a game is decided in seconds, it is not easy to follow a fast ball. Therefore, the higher the level of players, the better they read the position and direction of the opponent's gaze. They learn to predict the trajectory of the sword, which is why Jun-ho was called the master of prediction. Thanks to him, Li Ho received a hint and understood what his opponent would do in the next second. They really deserve each other, I have to say frankly. These two would make a great couple. Meanwhile, Li Ho's team successfully destroyed their rivals and informed him about it. Soon, Soyeon guessed that the Stone of Return could bring back life, although now it no longer matters. If she tries to use some trick and strike, Li Ho will be able to withstand it and then destroy her. It turned out that Soyeon had a lot of gold in reserve, and she decided to spend this money on increasing her sniper level. Now it has become much stronger, and its accuracy has reached a new level, and Li Ho personally felt it within a few seconds. His team members couldn't believe they were seeing it with their own eyes, but that's the reality. It turned out that everything wasn't as bad as it seemed, because they were able to complete this mission. Li Ho didn't expect such accurate shots at the very end, but he acted in anticipation. At that very moment, his sword was able to pierce the heart of this extraordinary lady. She managed to say her last words and promised to remember his name for the rest of her life. After that, these three players occupied the altar and they were able to successfully complete the mission. Now all that remains is to hope that they never encounter Soyeon and her team again. At that moment, a huge portal opened near them and they saw the same people they had fought on the third floor. Because they lost, they now face cruel punishment in the form of a huge monster. His targets will be players who have not killed any opponents during the mission. It was hard to watch them scream in fear. Seol Che said that they had a duty to help these people. It is not yet clear how to do this because it is impossible to get into this portal. So they could only calmly watch as these poor people were brutally killed by a huge monster. Soon, the players were informed that there was only one surviving player left in this area, and now the group would be reorganized. One player who survived is the one who was able to kill an opponent during the mission. It's not hard to guess that it was Soyeon, the leader of this team, a high-level assassin. She is not very happy, just like Li Ho. No wonder he has been restless all this time. The players rested and very quickly it was time to start a new mission on the fourth floor. They found themselves in a destroyed city, and in 6 hours a catastrophe will begin here. They must hunt monsters to find a portal to escape. These portals are created randomly. A total of 20 portals will be created. These portals cannot be transferred to others. They only have 6 hours to complete this entire task. It seemed like everything was perfect. There were a lot of people on the portal, so you wouldn't have to worry about competition. But we must not forget that if one person opens several portals, others will not be able to use them because portals cannot be transferred. It may seem like there are a lot of portals, but this could be a tower ambush. The players agreed that as soon as the portals opened, they should end their monster hunt and start running away. Now that everyone understood the essence of this mission, Li Ho felt for the first time that they were like a real team. There's only one problem left. The new team member isn't going to work with the others. She doesn't want to be told what to do, and she's going to do this task on her own. Of course, this made all the other team members incredibly angry. They were not used to this kind of attitude here. Let's go back 12 hours and see what happened when Soyeon first joined these players. Kim tried to explain to her that the rules were completely different here, and no one was going to listen to her orders. And it was at this moment that he missed a powerful punch to the face. Yes, this girl is completely different. You could even say that she is a real general, not a classic lady. Lee Ho decided to approach her and tell her not to cause trouble on someone else's territory. He has already destroyed the original assassin, but now he has a new enemy on the team, and he must be very determined if he wants to remain the leader. That's how they met again, and Lee Ho immediately informed the girl that they were not friends at all. At that moment, his system reported that Soyeon wanted to designate him as her main target. His value has been recognized, so now he is the assassin's main target and doomed to death. For this, their conversation was completed. But this conflict will still play an important role in this story. Now they are on the fourth floor, and will have to forget about Soyeon for a while to destroy the monsters. Despite the danger, they must kill these horrible creatures to be able to escape into the portal. Soon, Kim destroyed his first monster and opened the portal, which seems like a fairly easy task. It turns out that Lee Ho has been secretly watching him all this time. He doesn't want to leave this idiot unattended. Once the portal was opened, it was time to immediately save Kim's life. Now there was one less problem. And soon the system notified me that the guide had been updated. The killer fully reveals his characteristics when the Day of Blood comes. If the killer kills Lee Ho on the Day of Blood, he receives a high reward. We must direct all our efforts to raising our level and prepare for it, because when the Day of Blood comes, the real massacre will begin, and many will die. For now, you need to destroy monsters and do everything possible to open your own portal. Plus, you get experience points for killing monsters, so that's a nice bonus. After destroying the monster, the portal was not opened, so not everything is so simple on this fourth floor. It was necessary to watch Soyeon, who had already certainly killed several monsters. Soon, Lee Ho smelled an unpleasant smell, as if someone had died here, and for quite some time. The system said that all orcs stink, but the orc who left the portal stinks especially badly. This means that we must taste blood again and destroy the potential danger. With this murder, a portal was created for Lee Ho, thus guaranteeing his escape from this place. A little later, an interesting conversation took place between Soyeon and Lee Ho. From the very beginning, it was even hard to believe that all this was really happening. Lee Ho came to this girl and on his knees began to beg to leave him alive. He said that he was very unlucky and his portal wouldn't open. He had never won anything in his life and was not made for such missions, which is why he came to her. In fact, he intentionally avoids the orcs who open the portals. If this woman must kill him on the Day of Blood, then she has no choice but to hand over her prey to him. She would be much worse off if he died here without opening a new portal, even though he had already done so and hadn't told her about it. Judging by the system indicators, the other team members have no problems, and this is great news. His behavior incredibly irritated Soyeon. Sometimes it seemed to her that she couldn't help but kill him right now. He simultaneously feels guilt and exhilaration every time he destroys an orc. This is similar to their relationship with Soyeon, because she is constantly thinking about how and when to kill Lee Ho. The guy tried to understand why she was so tense, and let me remind you that he didn't open any portals. He wants to understand how many portals she has managed to open, and asks her to be nicer to him. It turned out that this killer had already opened 5 portals, which is a lot compared to Lee Ho. The other 11 players will open exactly 1 portal each, leaving a total of 3 portals. If there are only 3 portals left, then there will be only 2 of them on the 4th floor, and their conflict will need to be resolved. Lee Ho said that he would find a way out himself and asked her to run away, but the girl had no intention of doing so. She took a step towards him and said that she had completely forgotten where her portals were. It was not clear whether this was an act or whether she had really forgotten everything. Soon, Lee Ho returned to the tower. He passed through the portal and found himself in a safe place. He was immediately met by a happy Kim. The relationship between these two guys has changed a lot recently. Lee Ho did not return alone. He was with Soyeon. It seemed that now the worst was behind him. Jun Ho took a step forward and said that although they met as enemies, they are now allies and should become true friends. Although he did everything in his power, this girl is not going to change and take a step towards her new friends. Kim said it would be better if she died on the 4th floor because she didn't fit in with their team. The system will not be able to save from death, and Lee Ho understands this perfectly, so he wants this girl to be indebted to him. He should watch her more carefully because she could pose a real threat. Nothing bad should happen until the Day of Blood, of course, excluding the meeting with the Kum rabbit. As soon as he appeared, everyone around him was immediately scared, but not Soyeon. She immediately took out her gun and shot the rabbit in the head, her signature greeting to new acquaintances. The rabbit immediately rose from the dead and approached the girl. He doesn't like being greeted like that. That's why he dealt a powerful blow and made Soyeon feel pain. She needs to be taught good manners. This rabbit is really very powerful because he was able to easily demonstrate his strength against such a strong assassin. Considering his characteristics, he was lenient towards her. She must be important to this tower. The rabbit asked everyone around to calm down and said that it was time for the next mission, and that was why he was here. Before moving to the next floor, he wants to change the lighting on this floor and make it a library. Each of them must choose one book for themselves, on which their future fate depends. If they choose the right book, they will stay alive. If they make a bad choice, death awaits them. So their choices really do affect their fate, and no one has the right to reveal the contents of their book to other comrades. Once the mission on the 5th floor begins, all the books will disappear, so he wants to avoid regretting his choice. He said everything he wanted and immediately disappeared. So the players set off to find the right book. Of course, everyone is looking for a category related to their class. In such a situation, looking for something else is a waste of time. The system asked Lee Ho to choose a book about the chance encounters of the highest-ranking regressor. He soon fulfilled this request, feeling as if he were being asked to start reading novels. It is no longer possible to change his choice and reveal the contents of the book, so now the boy is worried about whether he made the right choice. After reading a few pages, he thought it was some kind of absurdity and was already beginning to doubt his trust in the system. Meanwhile, he saw that each member of his team had made a smart choice and chosen the right book. Jun Ho chose a book on fencing, Kim chose the techniques of the King of Fists, and Seol Chae chose a classic Korean medical text. Soon the time was up, and they found themselves on the 5th floor in a school classroom. It is still unclear who all these people around are. Their time seems to have stopped, and they all look younger. It feels like they all went back in time and became teenagers. It's especially funny to look at Kim. Even at that age, he still looks like a Hulk. Although Seol Chae looks completely different, she is still a true beauty. It's hard to believe that Lee Ho is now sitting next to a young version of Soyeon. Although she looks a little different, her character is just as fiery as in the future. Soon they heard the voice of a rabbit. He explained that the task on the 5th floor was a role-playing game. This was another dimension where people and monsters existed. From now on, they are cadets who will be training at the Monster Hunter Academy. Quests will appear over the next 4 days, and if they fail the task, they will immediately be sent on a deadly mission. Lee Ho has already survived a deadly mission once, but it will be much harder for an ordinary player to avoid death. Instead of this novel, he should have found something useful, like a martial arts book. It's too late to think about it now because the memories needed for the role-playing game have begun to load. Each of the players received a portion of personally formed memories. Lee Ho is no exception. When he received memories, his head almost lost consciousness from the pain. He was lucky that the injection ended very quickly. Now it's like 2 sets of memories in his head. It seems that his new memories are taken from a book about the chance encounters of a top-ranking regressor. The rabbit announced that the quest would begin after class, and now the players should enjoy their knowledge. People started to move. If this is really a novel, then Lee Ho and his friends will not be supporting characters. Looking more closely, he began to guess that a guy named Yoon Nam could be the main character. He is a regressor who knows his future. Thanks to this knowledge, he will have many chance encounters and will gain incredible power. Usually no one can answer the teacher's questions, but he will try. Lee Ho decided to get ahead of this protagonist and say the correct answer to this question before him. He learned this answer with the help of a book he took with him to the 5th floor, and now he no longer regrets it. Now it's clear why the system gave a recommendation for this particular novel, and you should take advantage of it. Now it's obvious that he doesn't need books on martial arts and fencing. Now he is ready to take away all the opportunities that the main character of this novel received. Soon the lessons ended and the students had free time to relax. Many tried to understand how Lee Ho learned the correct answer to the question, because it really seemed strange. Everyone is also nervous because they know that the quest will start soon. If everything happens just like in the book, then the quest will start right now, and I'm ready for it. The system informed the players that they should prepare and clear the dungeon that had opened near the building. Well, they have no more than an hour to complete this task, and if the task is not completed, a deadly mission awaits them. The item that will drop from the boss of this dungeon will be very useful later. Of course, it must reach Yoon, but Lee Ho will try to take it for himself. He asked the other players to hurry up and do everything possible to avoid the deadly mission. This dungeon is called the Orc Lair, and Yoon is very surprised that he is not the only one who will be going through this mission. He saw that other students had come to this dungeon, which meant that he would not be able to take all the treasures for himself. Lee Ho was not going to waste a single second of precious time. He took out his sword and immediately began to act. His swordsmanship skills improve with each new mission, which is what you would expect from a true cheater. It was also immediately noticeable that all the players on his team had become stronger, despite going back in time. Yoon watched them and couldn't believe he didn't remember someone so strong from school. If everything continues at the same pace, he will be left without a reward, so he must act decisively. That's why he took out his main weapon and prepared to show off his skills. The main character is really very strong. Even Lee Ho was surprised to see his technique. He is not going to give up his reward so easily, so he will have to fight to the very end. 70% of the monsters were destroyed in the first 10 minutes. But to get the reward you need to defeat the boss of this dungeon, and that won't be easy. Of course, Yoon is very strong, but with the help of the sensitivity skill, Lee Ho can easily find monsters in this dungeon. We completely forgot about Soyeon. This girl also dreams of first place, and is not going to give the victory to any guy. She has already lost a battle to Lee Ho in the past, and now she is not going to give in to him in anything. These three are really on a completely different level. It seems like they don't need the help of other team members at all. It's noticeable that today he's fighting even more desperately than usual. It seems to the players that their leader is doing everything to prevent them from going on a deadly mission. But in reality, Lee Ho only wants to receive a reward. In any case, his authority is now even greater than before, and he will take advantage of this in the future. Soon the orcs were destroyed, and now the boss room of this dungeon was created. Yun can challenge this boss, the system reported this. Lee Ho was incredibly angry. He tried with all his might to get this opportunity, but it still wasn't enough. He doesn't know what to do. Is it really time to give up and give his rival the opportunity to take first place? Finally, he decided to turn to Yoon and asked him to give him the right to challenge the boss. If he does this, Lee Ho will tell him how to break the chains of regression and free himself from this curse. Soon the door to the boss's room opened. It turned out that Lee Ho's plan worked and he got this chance. The main thing is that he doesn't regret his choice now, because the battle with the boss can turn into a real test. Before that, there was a serious conversation with Yoon. He tried to understand Lee Ho's motives. The guy was surprised that this newbie had learned about his regression, and now he was eager to hear the answers. Lee Ho wasn't nervous at all. He was sure that living as a regressor was very boring. This regression began in November of the 17th year. This is known from the book. Many people envy people who are entering the golden years of their lives. Usually during these years, young boys and girls are ready for any action. The best thing about these years is that you only get to live them once. But Yoon was cursed and tired of it. If he gives up the boss's room, Lee Ho is ready to tell him how to break the chains of regression. Yoon has dreamed of lifting the curse of infinite regression for 1,000 years. He has no choice but to accept this offer. Thus, he refused to challenge the boss and passed the opportunity to Lee Ho. Now he will have to fight this extremely large orc and risk his own life for the reward. This task really looks extremely difficult. The main thing is not to get nervous and stay calm. The boss immediately activated the orc warrior's roar skill. Most attackers immediately lose their fighting spirit upon hearing this sound. Incredible sensitivity not only enhances all the sensations of Lee Ho's body, but also perfectly blocks any psychological attacks from opponents. With this, he cannot be afraid of any scary sounds and immediately proceed to counterattack. The opponent's upper part is made of steel, but his lower part is quite weak and must be attacked. If you deliver well-aimed blows to the legs, you can deprive your opponent of mobility. This was the strategy that Lee Ho chose, and it very quickly began to bear fruit for him. All that remained was to deliver the final blow and send this monster to hell, and there were no problems with that. The orc warrior drops an item after the boss room is cleared. Having done so, it's time to rest. About his free time, Lee Ho spends it with Kim. After an active battle, he needs to drink some coffee and relax. If you look very carefully, you can see that a gold ring has appeared on our main character's hand. There are only 2 mythical objects in this novel, one of which is Yoon's weapon, the Gungnir, an object that always hits its target accurately. The second item is the Nike ring, a mythical class that significantly increases the character of the owner. This is the same cheating item as the Gungnir. In the future, this ring will become an excellent insurance for Lee Ho. Now, the main character of this novel will have to act without this ring in the future, but Lee Ho will give him the necessary information. Meanwhile, Soyeon approached Lee Ho and said she wanted to play with him. Rock, paper, scissors is not a game of luck at all. On the contrary, the game tests your reflexes. They are going to play for gold coins to make this game several times more interesting. The next day, from early morning, the students gathered near the school in the yard. This is the same classic scene from all novels. A blow to a machine to measure combat power. When they hit the crystal, their strength and magic levels will be replaced, and in 2 days, they will need this result in the task. Everyone is interested in seeing how strong the cadets are. Everyone wants to show themselves at their best and demonstrate their talent. Surprisingly, this was not there at all in the downloaded memories. Perhaps this scene is not important. It was the turn of the first cadet to demonstrate his strength. He delivered a powerful blow and showed a really high score, 69 points. Everyone around was very surprised because the cadet's previous performance was half that. Kim took off his t-shirt and ordered everyone to get out of the way because now he was going to show what true strength was. His shot was truly extremely powerful. He broke the record with a score of 75 points. After that, it was Soyeon's turn. It seems this crazy girl never leaves the house without her gun. In any case, he helps her because thanks to this weapon she was able to set a new record. Even this figure did not last long because when it was Yoon's turn, he broke the record. After the test was completed, everyone went to a local diner for a delicious meal. Lee Ho decided not to hit too hard and leave more strength for the next day. If he really shows his level as a leader, it will be harder to get on the same team as Yoon during the trial. Soon, right during the meal, the players were informed that the second quest was beginning. Their mission will be to rescue Cadet Yoon. They have 1 hour to complete this task. All of this will take place in the central park of the embankment. After returning from training, Yoon decided to beat up the local hooligans a bit. One of them, Hapil, turned out to be the son of Park Yeon-seok, the boss of the Red Moon, one of the 10 largest guilds. That's why this boss called the best warriors to find and kill Yoon. In the original story, he must be saved by an unknown woman. Now everything is different and all cadets must immediately go and find this guy, while he is still alive. You will have to work hard and demonstrate all your talents because it will be difficult to deal with these rivals using conventional methods. No matter how experienced Yoon is, he is just an ordinary cadet, so he needs to be saved. Meanwhile, this guy had real problems because he found himself in a den of real wolves. It seemed that everything would end badly, but at the last moment, salvation came. I'm starting to like this girl with a gun, more and more. She'd be the perfect match for the main character, but more on that later. Lee Ho asked no one to hurry, but Kim didn't hear these words at all and immediately prepared his stone fists. We'll have to support this guy and start attacking our opponents together. There are only 3 enemies, but the difference in levels is obvious. The only chance to gain an advantage is to attack as unexpectedly as possible. Yoon decided to help his comrades and also take part in this battle. His reaction was at an excellent level. This battle is extremely interesting to watch. Although the cadets are very young, they already have the potential to become legendary warriors. Although Kim has not gained intelligence, his strength can still be used to the benefit of the team. The stone fists were supposed to destroy their opponent, but it turned out that this would not be enough. Only now did the cadets realize that they had found themselves in a very difficult situation, and now they were all trapped. Their enemy turned out to be much stronger than they expected, and now they will have to demonstrate their full potential to stay alive. All this time, they were under the protection of the academy and had no idea how dangerous the world around them could be. Now they will have to grow up very quickly and accept the challenges of adult life. While some of the team members tried to hold back the enemies, Seo Chae calmly treated the wounded. Now is the time to reveal the skills from the books you have received and show your martial arts skills. Each of the cadets has gained knowledge and must now demonstrate it in practice. These bandits didn't understand anything at all. They don't know anything about books and quests, and it seems like they're fighting for mentally retarded children. This is a real challenge for them. They can't lose to the kindergarten and return to the boss with nothing. There's real rock and roll in this forest today. It feels like an infinity war is taking place here. Now they can really be compared to the real Avengers. They have become an outstanding team. This became possible only after completing past missions. All these trials strengthened their friendship. The experience of their enemies is on a completely different level, but that doesn't mean the outcome of the battle will be so obvious. These 3 form a triangle of death. If even one of them is destroyed, all the others will lose their power. It's easy to say, but in reality, these bandits are like iron doors without a single crack. The cadets are very lucky to have Seo Chae with them. Without her treatment, they would all have ended up in the hospital. Their enemies understand that they should not spare these children, so they will fight at full strength. It's no wonder that their main target was a witch who heals the wounded. Yoon had to intervene and deliver a powerful blow with his special weapon, the Gungnir. Strangely enough, it worked, and now the triangle of death was broken. A crack has appeared in the large iron door and they must take advantage of it. The team members surrounded their enemy and decided to take advantage of the opportunity while he was fighting without their support. They are worried about the unexpected delays and Lee Ho perfectly understands the reason for their worry. The main thing is to stay as a team and act according to the plan, and Lee Ho has an idea how to win this battle. He looked at his enemies and said that their boss would probably be very disappointed. He knows that the head of the Red Moon Guild, Park Yeon-seok, is a very aggressive and emotional man. These iron doors are starting to form more and more cracks, and soon they won't hold up. A huge number of guild warriors have already died because of such an emotional leader. All these men understand and know what their boss is capable of. It becomes noticeable that these words have had a strong impact on them. Now is the time to seize this opportunity and deliver the final blow. When they are worried, they cannot demonstrate all their talents, and this can be used to their advantage. With the help of psychological and physical attacks, you can defeat even the strongest enemy. And Li Ho has confirmed this. Thus, one of the three warriors was defeated. Everything happened extremely quickly. The guild warriors admitted their defeat and said they were ready to stop there. They understand that their boss will be extremely disappointed, but they have nothing to regret because they were fighting against very serious warriors. They said goodbye to these children and disappeared via teleportation, which can be considered a victory. The quest was completed and the cadets began celebrating. Today, they deserved applause. Yun didn't have a smile on his face. He realized that Li Ho knew what would happen today. First, it's better to thank them for saving him, because if it weren't for them, Yun would have turned into fish food today. Now, changes have occurred in a large number of Yun's lives, something that did not happen in past regressions. He thinks that Li Ho is also a regressor, but in reality, this guy is something much more. Yun approached him and reminded him that they had never talked about how to get rid of the chains of regression. This conversation could not wait any longer. The next day, they returned to training. The teacher began forming teams for the next training session in the dungeon. In this dungeon, Li Ho will be able to test out his new Tay armor that he bought after the last quest. Soon the teacher said that Li Ho and Yun would be on the same team, which was exactly what they had been counting on. To get the best awards, you need to be on the best team, but it's too early to celebrate. Yun knows that in the dungeon where they will be training, everything will not go according to plan. Events related to disasters are no longer surprising, but when everything happens at the same time, it's nonsense. Every time, Yun tried to find a reason but nothing worked, and now he wants Li Ho to help him. According to the plot of the novel, accidents occur in 3 teams while passing through this dungeon. Only the team to which Yun belongs manages to escape. The problem is that the novel does not discuss the reasons for this situation, so no nuances are known. Li Ho tried to say that he didn't know why this was happening, but Yun refused to believe him. The author of the novel did not reveal all his intentions at all, and this is not Li Ho's fault. During this conversation, Soyeon was walking by. She heard a familiar voice and walked forward. What she saw in front of her and didn't really like, now it's clear why these two constantly spend time together. She pretended she was going in a completely different direction, turned around, and started running away. Soon the preparation time was over, and the students prepared for a new task. They entered the dungeon and were tasked with clearing the area in the shortest possible time. Yun suggested splitting up and exploring the dungeon in groups. If one of the groups finds something interesting, they must immediately call their partners. The disaster occurs in the 4th, 9th, and 12th teams. The 9th team has a member named Yesel, and everything should be fine with them thanks to her extraordinary healing abilities. It's also unlikely that anything will happen to Soyeon's team. She's a star blessed by the tower, so it's unlikely that she'll die. When Li Ho thinks about the 12th team, he understands that it is with these players that problems may arise. Due to inattention, the boy did not notice at all that a pack of wolf monsters was approaching him. You must not forget that you are in a dangerous dungeon, because every mistake in this place can cost you your life. Next to Li Ho was 17-year-old Yan. His class is based on research, and he doesn't feel very confident in battles against monsters. In any case, next to him is the experienced Li Ho, who can single-handedly destroy any monster. He did all the dirty work and saved John, which is what you would expect from a more experienced player. This guy has gone through difficult trials and is now very afraid of monsters and dungeons. He apologizes for his behavior but can't do anything about it. His psyche is broken. Surprisingly, Li Ho supported his behavior and said that next time he should do the same. They can die at any moment, so it's better to think about survival, especially if you can't protect yourself from monsters. He asked the boy not to feel guilty and to smile more. Now the relationship between them has become even better. Yan believes that before the apocalypse, Li Ho was also just as cool. If we talk about what happened before the disaster, we must remember that Li Ho lived in an orphanage. He tried to survive and constantly fought discrimination until he became an adult and got a job. Through strange circumstances, he ended up in the tower and became a folk hero, although before that he had been a nobody. If a catastrophe had not occurred on planet Earth, he would not even have lived to this moment. Li Ho asked his partner to think of himself first, but he himself always risks his own life for the sake of others. This inspired John, And now he also wants to help others in difficult situations. It's always nice to see the older generation setting the right example. The most important thing is the future. So it's better not to look back. Soon they came to a strange wall and John felt a very strong energy. Lee Ho's incredible sensitivity is currently silent. Perhaps other skills need to be activated. The decision was made almost instantly. He took out his weapon and activated the novice swordsman skill. It was a truly extraordinary blow that activated all this energy and resulted in an explosion of bright light. Soon the system informed them that the boys had entered the labyrinth. So this wall really did have its secrets. The most interesting thing is that the novel didn't say a word about the labyrinth, and Yoon didn't know anything about it either. So it turns out that this place was not created by the author. Perhaps this is where the root of the dungeon problem lies. The guys went forward until they encountered some unknown and scary creature. The first test in the labyrinth will be a meeting with the Gembra monster, an elf with quite strong characteristics. It turned out that this elf was not alone here. He had his experienced team of workers next to him. The elves started talking to each other. At first they thought that these two guys were characters, but then they realized that this was not the case at all. They said that these guys changed the plot and would give a huge clue to Yoon. Lee Ho explained that he was a person who had read this story. He had only recently found himself in this novel. Soon, the elves told us that they were doing repairs in this world. Lee Ho decided to make contact with them and started saying that they were doing a very difficult job. This immediately made the elves respect the boy. They were going to destroy him, but now they want to become friends. Then they said they would help him lose his memories of the incident, but that couldn't be allowed. If he forgets everything, then his entire journey will be in vain. So he decided to stop the elves and remind them of the plot problem. He said he would tell him how to fix all the problems and help Yoon succeed. Soon both boys left the maze and returned to the dungeon. Lee Ho looked as if he was hypnotized. For a while he completely ignored his partner and stared at one point. He recalled his conversation with the elves and his proposal to fix the novel's plot problem. If nothing changes, it will lead to disaster and the novel will destroy the elves' reputation. So they agreed. Lee Ho proposed to combine 3 dungeons that simultaneously descend into madness. This way, they will be able to resolve the situation with the monsters. The elves understand that if the dungeon becomes huge, the reward must also grow. This law cannot be broken. Now a new problem arises because if Yoon gets too big a reward, the plot could get confusing. That's why Lee Ho said that he should receive the reward instead of Yoon. The elves immediately began discussing this proposal, and Lee Ho could only calmly await their verdict. Soon he heard that the elves again wanted to completely erase his memory because this option was much easier. They believe that his proposal will only create new problems if the supporting character stands out so much. He began to scream and beg them to stop, but the elves were not going to listen to him at all. Lee Ho would have continued to think about this situation if not for the intervention of Yeon, who tried to bring his comrade back to the real world. After that, Lee Ho and Yeon continued exploring the dungeon. They were very lucky that the mission on the 5th floor was time-limited. There is no need to erase the memory of a person who will soon disappear from this reality anyway. Soon, Lee Ho noticed that his partner had a hammer, a weapon he had not had before. It turned out that while the elves were so busy with Lee Ho, Yang decided to take advantage of this and took their hammer. The elf repairman's hammer has a unique class and allows you to repair items and increase your success rate. It turned out that his partner is not as weak as previously thought. This guy may be useful in the future. The system reported a hidden mission. You need to complete the renovation of the novel's world. That is, achieve the highest merit in the dungeon. A secret agreement was made between Lee Ho and the elves. He received a personal task, but he had to act secretly so as not to increase the problems in the plot. If he can do this, he will receive a personal reward, but he will have to go through difficulties. Due to an unknown energy, the dungeon entered a stage of madness and stronger monsters began to appear. 3 dungeons have been combined into one single portal. From now on, you have to be very careful, because the risk of dying has increased several times. Lee Ho ordered his partner to find Yoon. With his research skills, he would be able to avoid dangerous monsters. In fact, John is much braver than he seems, so you don't have to worry about this guy. Meanwhile, huge and dangerous monsters began to appear in different parts of the dungeon. It is very difficult for the cadets to resist these monsters because there is a huge difference in levels between them. If Sol Che hadn't been there, most of them would have been dead long ago. Soon, one huge monster was killed with an unknown weapon, a feat only a very strong player is capable of. This player turned out to be Soyeon. This girl again took out her gun and began to kill everything that got in her way. Lee Ho was in a hurry all this time. He knew that some students would be in terrible danger and they needed help. They must clear this dungeon as quickly as possible and avoid losses. This will be difficult to do because on their way they will encounter huge scorpions that attack people with poison. Soon, Li Ho found the one he was looking for, the Scorpion King, the greatest threat in this dungeon. This monster can attack with a huge amount of poison, and this is its main threat. Li Ho knows that the fourth team is under Yoon's protection, so you don't have to worry about them. So now he must focus on his enemy and clear the 2 dungeons left for him. He cannot allow such a catastrophe to happen before his eyes, and besides, it will help him increase his rank. The battle with the Scorpion King has begun. The monster attacks first, but its actions are too predictable. It seemed that until he brought his tail into the battle, Li Ho had completely forgotten about the danger of this part of his body. It almost cost him broken ribs. He should be more careful in the future if he wants to stay alive. He must find a way to break through the scorpion's defenses and find its weak spot. Now he will have to use his maximum, as well as apply an important item. He recently completed a quest and gained the perfect defense skill. This technique can only be used once, and he decided to do it now. With the help of protection, you can get close to the enemy and not be afraid of being destroyed by his poison. This provides opportunities to unleash the swordsman's potential and deliver an extremely powerful blow. Thus, the Scorpion King was finished off. Now all that remained was to clear the dungeon where Kim was. Now it's even hard for him to believe that he's really worried about Kim. Probably the recent trials have brought them closer. My first impression of this guy was very bad, but now the situation has completely changed. Now Li Ho really begins to accept his fate and tries to save himself. In any case, he needs to concentrate now. He's in another dungeon and doesn't yet know what awaits him there. From the very beginning, he sensed danger and began to defend himself. An unknown creature began to attack him from the ground. It turned out to be a second-level horned mole. Not a very dangerous creature, but you still have to be careful with it. There are a lot of these monsters around the stunt, so you'll have to use your sword to clear your way. If Li Ho is not focused, he will very quickly feel what real danger is. These little monsters can cause big problems, which is exactly what happened to Kim's team. At first, they underestimated their opponents, and when they realized that these moles were dangerous, it was too late. Kim had destroyed a huge number of these ugly monsters. He was tired and completely forgot about concentration. It seemed that now he would pay dearly for his inattention, but he was lucky. At the last moment, Li Ho came to his aid and saved this bodybuilder from certain death. This made Kim value this guy even more and call him her best friend. Although Kim was rescued, unfortunately, all the other members of this team died a terrible death. These moles turned out to be too strong, and Kim was unable to protect all the players. Even if they were all supporting characters, they are still living people, and it's hard to lose them. They were all incredibly young and had to continue on their path. But today, their final battle took place. The guys started talking about escaping this hellish place, and it was at that moment that they felt something like an earthquake. It turns out that the mole boss isn't going to let these 2 tasty guys off his territory. He went out to taste their flesh, but Li Ho has completely different plans for tonight. The dungeon ordeal was soon over, but that doesn't mean everyone is celebrating today. Although most of the students managed to survive, they are all incredibly saddened by the loss of their friends. Li Ho is the most upset of all. He feels that he should have saved all the cadets, but he couldn't. Despite constant regressions, Yoon has never been able to stop the madness of the dungeon, so he is also in a bad mood. In any case, they should focus on the good points because a large number of cadets were saved. Now Yoon is ready to admit that his new friend is much more than just a regular regressor. This conversation could be the beginning of a true friendship between the great warriors. Yoon doesn't yet understand that his new friend is returning to the tower, and starting tomorrow, everything will change. Li Ho will climb to the next floor of the tower and continue his path to victory, despite all the difficulties and problems. Maybe fate has something special in store for him. All that remains is to move forward and see what awaits him. He is not alone on this journey. He has loyal companions by his side, so he doesn't have to fear any problems. The task on the 5th floor was successfully completed, and the players returned to the tower. For his success in the dungeon, Li Ho received the skill of a mid-level swordsman, which was not available in the store, so he is extremely happy. The difference in levels was huge. He hopes to soon reach the highest rank of fencer. He also received another important item for successfully completing a hidden mission, improving his characteristics by 10 points. With the help of increased characteristics, he was able to open a new subclass. He hopes that this subclass will be very important, such as a god of ruins, a rune master, or a shadow savior. The result was not what he expected because he received the beast tamer subclass. Now he will be loved by the animals and he will be able to enjoy his new skills. A little later, he received guidance on the strategy for the next floor, where a monster lives that can be tamed. This monster has excellent fighting abilities and can be ridden, so it's like a big wolf. He began to imagine how he would look after his pet. This was the first time he had looked forward to the next floor. Everything turned out to be not so simple. The path to the 7th floor turned out to be much more brutal than it seemed. The mission on the 6th floor was called the Endless Struggle, and this name really perfectly describes what was happening there. This battle lasted for many hours in a row, and we had to work very hard to successfully complete the task. Sometimes it seemed like this mission was truly endless, but there was also good news, because for each monster killed, additional attribute points were awarded. There were no such opportunities on the 5th floor. No matter how many monsters they killed, they received nothing for it. That's why we need to enjoy this battle now and get maximum progress from it. For Lee Ho, leveling up has lost its meaning. All his characteristics have reached their maximum. Now he needs to train to improve his skills. Loud noises began to be heard all around, and it turned out that Soyeon now had 2 guns, which meant twice as many problems. It turns out that there is no limit to progress in the assassin rank, and Lee Ho can't like this. This girl doesn't like it when someone looks at her. She can kill for being watched. A little later, Lee Ho remembered that now he would go to the 7th floor, and therefore meet his monster. The 7th floor is a place of reinforcement. When hunting monsters, there is a chance of getting a stone to enhance characteristics. Players can use enhancement stones and gold to increase the power of items. Items that are not weapons or protection cannot be enhanced, so things aren't perfect. For 72 hours, they must hunt monsters and become stronger. There are no conditions for clearing the dungeon. If there are no conditions for clearing, then after 72 hours, everything will be automatically cleared, at least in theory. Soon, an item called a power-up probability change stone appeared in the store. Yes, I didn't understand anything either. Everyone around bought these stones and prepared to complete a new mission. Lee Ho wasn't worried at all. With the help of the ring, this floor would be an easy walk for him. He wants not only to strengthen his characteristics, but also to get a new pet, that is, to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. When Lee Ho entered the dungeon, he saw that everyone around him had already destroyed a large number of monsters. Not everything turned out so perfectly. It turned out that the enhancement stones were quite difficult to find. Lee Ho did not use weapons and tried to tame the monsters with his bare hands, but this method does not work at all. In parallel with this, Kim found his first strengthening stone. Today, he is very lucky. Lee Ho couldn't understand why this fool got the first power stone. Sometimes life is unfair. He approached Kim and decided to find out what exactly he wanted to strengthen. He fights using the stone fist technique, but he has no weapons to enhance it. It turns out that this guy was incredibly happy about an item that he won't be able to use. There is still a lot of time ahead to find and tame the great monster, and for Lee Ho, this is a top priority. From the very beginning, it seemed like a lot of time, but it turned out that it ended faster than expected. Less than 2 hours left and Lee Ho still hasn't found his monster. During this time, he met only a few candidates, but all of them did not suit his desires at all. The 16th level Bear King was too slow. The wolf was fast, but not at all durable. A level 17 two-headed cat was also found, but it was too stupid. The system guide said that there was a monster on the 7th floor that could be tamed and had excellent characteristics, but it still hasn't been found. The only positive point is finding 3 enhancement stones, which can be considered a good success. Lee Ho continued his search and saw some large creature moving in the bushes. Soon he finally saw before him the very monster he had been looking for all this time. It turned out to be a Kentao kangaroo. This creature is at level 20 and has extraordinary boxing skills. It seemed that such a terrifying-looking kangaroo could not become a pet, but this needs to be checked. Kentao said he liked this guy, but first he needed to test his strength. The boxing fight of the century began. 2 champions met in the ring. After a powerful blow from his opponent, Lee Ho almost lost his head. If he hadn't dodged, his head would have flown to Mars. The strength of this Kentao is extraordinary. With such a guard, you cannot be afraid of any rivals. His punches are made so powerful by his footwork, it all works like a spring. It should also be noted that this beast is extremely fast. Sometimes it is impossible to dodge its attack. Lee Ho probably expected something different. He thought his pet would be a very cool monster. If he couldn't find a cool wolf, he hoped to see something exceptionally beautiful, like a kitten. But you have to be happy with what you have, and that's why he realized that a kangaroo was also a great option for him. Soon the system reported that Lee Ho had become the master of the kangaroo Kentao. Now this boxer was completely subdued. He decided to name this animal Ken Su. He probably said the first thing that came to his mind. As soon as the system notified the animal of its subjugation, the kangaroo immediately changed its shape. He turned into a small and very cute pet, similar to a squirrel. Lee Ho had never seen anything better in his life. It was exactly what he had always dreamed of. Soon the task on the 7th floor was completed and the players returned to the tower. They all watched Lee Ho's new pet. This little kangaroo captured their hearts. They constantly watched him and said that they also wanted such a pet. Lee Ho explained that now he had a new subclass, and he was able to tame the animal from the 7th floor. He also hopes that all the other team members have improved their abilities, but it turns out that this is not entirely the case. He had foreseen that this might happen, but he was still upset by his friend's poor performance. Soon something lifted his spirits. Jan received a high-end leather adventurer's bag, and that was great news. You can recall that in the past, this guy already took a hammer with a bonus to the probability of improvement. Lee Ho was not wrong when he said that this guy has high potential. Not only did he gain significant improvements, Lee Ho also improved his sword and armor. Everyone was happy for their leader. Only Soyeon looked sad because she didn't find a single improvement stone. Back then, everyone around them was smiling and joking around. These young talents had no idea what awaited them in the future. Soon the joy ended and the light around disappeared, meaning that new trials awaited them. They heard the familiar voice of the rabbit, Kum Kum. He said that they had relaxed too early and had forgotten something. He put on a little show for them to cheer them up, but knowing this rabbit, he only prepared them for more problems. They already know that something bad awaits them. No one believes the words of this tower servant anymore. The rabbit is sure that they are all jealous of each other and want to adopt some of their comrades' abilities. In order to fulfill these cherished desires, he organized something today. Now he is sure that they will enjoy life and feel true power in their own hands. The event has started. They must kill players from other zones. As a reward, they receive random abilities of the killed person. It is not known what kind of people these are, but if they are adequate, they will not want to fight Kim to the death. Lee Ho planned to try to negotiate with these people, but not everyone agreed with his strategy. Soyeon had already taken out her signature weapon and prepared to kill. All this time, Lee Ho had hoped that there was still at least a drop of humanity left in her. But it seems that he was very wrong. We must not forget that once a murderer, always a murderer, and this perfectly characterizes this girl. Of course, any person regards a weapon pointed at them as a challenge to war. Lee Ho didn't want to kill each other at all because, in that case, they would be doing exactly what the tower expects of them. The rabbit said that each of them must make their own choice, and then invited them to come on stage. After that, the light disappeared. Lee Ho opened his eyes and saw that he was in an unknown place. The system reported that players who receive this message must move to another room within 10 seconds. If they don't do this, they will die, so they have no choice but to submit to the system. Time was running out very quickly, so Lee Ho also obeyed and entered the next room, where he met the general of the enemy team, Kang. The message that players will die if they don't go to another room is just an ambush from the tower to provoke conflict between players. When tension reaches its highest point and you encounter someone as aggressive as you, the likelihood of a fight increases significantly. This man looks very calm. He immediately understood that Lee Ho is the leader, even though this guy is at a low level. From the very beginning, Khan stated that he was not going to attack anyone. He would like to avoid war. Lee Ho completely agrees with him. He also dreams of a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The main thing is that it all be sincere. Too much blood has already been spilled here, and Khan doesn't want to lose any more of his comrades to the tower's evil plans. At that moment, Lee Ho immediately remembered how he had promised himself never to succumb to the tower's manipulations again. In this, they were similar to him. Perhaps these are two victims of the Kum Kum rabbit, trying to protect their comrades and survive. The problem is that even if they start cooperating, their comrades are scattered in different corners of the location, so it will be difficult to unite them. It turns out that Khan has a way to solve the problem. He knows how to activate the telepathy skill. If he is sure that Lee Ho's group will not attack him and his friends, he will use his telepathy to order his comrades not to attack. The whole problem is trust. He has to trust that Lee Ho and his team are really willing to cooperate. This is an ideal solution to the conflict if both of them do not want victims. Lee Ho explained that his team is quite calm and also doesn't want to kill anyone. Only recently did they add another team member, and it is with this girl that problems may arise. He can't control her at all, and she's constantly causing trouble. He realizes that he has no choice but to stop her with his own hands. In this case, Kang trusted his new friend and used telepathy to stop his comrades. After that, Lee Ho immediately set out to find Soyeon. He must stop her at all costs. When he completed the mission on the 7th floor, his gold supply became even greater, and he bought a random box with an improvement skill. The skill he really needed came just in time, a technique that helps create mini-maps, locations, and players. Now they are in a small 5-story hotel. So far, everything is under control. No one has died. He found Soyeon's location and immediately set out to search. When he opened the door, he saw Kim standing in front of him, next to a dead member of the other team. He couldn't believe that this big fool had actually broken the agreement and killed another person. He started yelling at him and prepared to break all his bones, but Kim explained that he was only defending himself. The other man pulled out a weapon and began attacking him, leaving him with no choice but to kill his opponent. At first, Lee Ho didn't believe these words, but the system told him that murderers have eyes that can see the number of people another person has killed. Perhaps when this task was first received, Soyeon immediately saw the number of people killed, which is why she became so aggressive. She understood what would happen in the future, so Kim is telling the truth. Khan planned everything carefully. He created all the conditions for his team to easily win this war. Soon, Lee Ho returned to the man in a completely different mood. He took out his sword and said that he was not going to talk about anything, because now he understood that a traitor was standing before him. In response, he heard loud laughter, something similar to what had happened during Jun Seong's madness on the initial floors of the tower. This man had been hiding his true identity for a long time, and now it became clear that he wanted to take away Lee Ho's abilities. There's no point in wearing a mask anymore. Everything has become obvious now. Kang called his assistants, and together they began to attack Lee Ho. This room has gotten too hot just a little longer and someone will melt, literally. There was a big explosion, and then Khan tried to understand what happened to his people. He saw a large and powerful boxing kangaroo in front of him. Finally, this beast would show what it was capable of. Lee Ho has long dreamed of fighting alongside his pet. This alliance could change the world. Now they are in a difficult position, with twice as many opponents, so they will have to work hard to win. Lee Ho decided to act very aggressively in order not to give his opponents any extra chances. Kyung-soo also demonstrated his knockout punch. In close combat, this beast is extremely powerful. Within a few seconds, the two of them were able to defeat the general's guard. Now he is left alone and no longer looks like the very confident warrior he used to be. Lee Ho and his beast are not murderers. They did not kill their rivals, and now they may regret it. Their soft nature can lead to even bigger problems, because sometimes you have to kill in order for good to prevail. They urgently need help from other team members, but right now they can only count on themselves. These warriors fight with the help of their general's life force. He uses mana to maintain their energy levels, but this cannot last forever. Lee Ho doesn't consider himself a hero or a holy man at all, but if there is a way to save at least one person, he chooses this path. He is sure that this is what every adequate man should do, and he made this choice a long time ago. That's why he didn't want to kill his rivals and was soft on them. But if he didn't destroy them right now, his comrades might suffer. That's why he chooses to remain cool-headed and do what he has to do, no matter what. With one swing of his sword, he destroyed 3 warriors of the enemy team. After that, the moment of truth came. The moment of punishment for the treacherous man named Khan. The absorption of the opponent's abilities has been successfully completed. The mission has been completed, and most of the enemy team members have died. The players returned to the lobby, feeling relieved as if they had been reborn. Lee Ho saw that Soyeon was upset, so he decided to approach her and apologize for the misunderstanding. The girl replied that she did it not for them, but for herself. Everything as usual. Someday she will admit that she also has compassion and kindness, but that will definitely happen for today. Maybe something happened to her in the past, some situation that greatly affected her. Players were informed that after completing the mission, they would be traveling to the 8th floor, as they had been moving too fast lately. This means that everything is just beginning. Lee Ho feels that something terrible awaits them on the next floor. His stats were slightly increased by absorbing his opponent's abilities, but he still has a lot to do to become a true leader of his team. On the 8th floor, a skill upgrade hall awaits the players. It will be difficult, but they must unite and believe in their success. Around them, the players saw someone resembling gladiators, and these people look quite strong. A little later, a new character appeared on the screen. This is the middle manager of the End of the World Tower. His name is Kim Kim. He doesn't really like being ignored, so he asked the players to be very attentive. This is the qualification renewal hall where gladiators gather. Only those who successfully renew their qualifications will be able to move to the next floor. Otherwise, death awaits them. So the rabbit advises them not to waste any more time and start right now. Everyone must form a team of 4 people to hunt for woolly mammoths. There will be a total of 8 mammoths and 120 minutes to complete this mission. Surprisingly, 9 teams will be formed, but only 8 monsters, meaning the number doesn't match. The rabbit explained that these were not games at all, so this would be a battle not for life, but for death. He also soon added another condition. Killing another player would be equivalent to killing a mammoth. Soon the portal was opened and the players immediately ran forward. Before entering the portal, they were stopped by an unknown man who asked them to stop for a minute. He looked into their eyes and tried to understand whether they were murderers or ordinary people. This man from power is the killer Khan. Sometimes everything around is too strange, especially when the killer is looking for other killers. The players decided not to listen to him and not waste any more time, so they immediately ran into the portal. Then he turned to the people who remained and said that he wanted to become a member of their team. Lee Ho and the other players had no choice. They needed to form their own team, so they were forced to take him in. The system reported that a hidden object, as well as a mammoth, was found in the eastern part of the territory. Red dots on the map indicate mammoths, and a gold dot indicates a hidden object. If the hidden object is found and retrieved, no one will die, and that is Lee Ho's goal. Soon, they approached the barrier and saw a huge creature. They were the ones who managed to find the leader of the mammoth hordes, but now they must confront him. From the very beginning, the Khan underestimated the leader of this group, considering him a man of low status. Now his attitude towards Lee Ho has changed and he will watch him more closely. Lee Ho has also always been observant, but now he feels like he is being watched too. First, you need to remove this barrier, but normal attacks will not help with this task. Lee Ho is sure that the barrier will be opened automatically after some time, when 5 Jagam mammoths are killed. At this moment, when everything seemed to be under control, very strange things started to happen. The assassin Khan drew his sword and cut off the head of his teammate. Lee Ho couldn't believe his eyes. Everything seemed to be going according to plan, but now real chaos had begun. Khan said that this was just a safety precaution. If the barrier didn't open, killing another player would be considered killing a mammoth. Of course, killing another person for safety's sake is beyond comprehension, and besides, it was a member of their team. Lee Ho was angry, but he understood that it was his mistake, because he believed that the killer could be adequate. He was too happy when he saw the hidden mammoth and completely lost his concentration. Now the Gan has smelled blood and is ready to kill all the team members to take the reward for himself. Jun Hoon is going to sit idly by. He was ready from the very beginning to kill this murderer and solve all the problems. Lee Ho decided to intervene in the situation because the Khan was too dangerous. He tried to save his partner, but even that wasn't enough. All this time he thought he had become much stronger, but now he couldn't even protect his comrades. This is no different from what happened to him many years ago. He is still too weak. At this moment, the barrier began to open, and the mammoth leader was free. We had to immediately pick up our wounded partner and take him to a safe place. It's very lucky that he's still breathing, meaning the dream escaped fatal injuries. This does not mean that you can relax, because as long as the killer is free, he will try to kill. He decided to start by attacking the mammoth leader, despite the large difference in size. Usually, Khan uses the sword aura. It is an exclusive skill of the assassin, and it is very difficult to predict the trajectory of the attack. Lee Ho would like to destroy this killer right now, but he is guaranteed to lose, so it is better to focus on the mammoth leader. This will help analyze the killer's behavior patterns and understand his strengths and weaknesses. Soon the dark leader of the mammoths was killed. They did it together, like a real team. Now we can try to understand why the Khan is trying to find the murderer, because this is his central motive. Soon, the mission was completed, and the players returned to the tower area. Jun Ho thanked Lee Ho for saving his life, but he was still incredibly angry with the Khan. But in the meantime, I remembered the last conversation I had with this murderer during the trial. They agreed to talk a little and answer each other's questions in order to clarify the situation. Lee Ho said that there is a killer in his zone. He is so special that he received an exclusive weapon, a pistol. He means the king of assassins, the woman of death, the mistress of guns, Soyeon. Khan laughed in response, saying he had never heard of the king of assassins. Of course, Lee Ho just came up with this name, but he did it to interest his opponent. Khan is visibly interested and now wants to know who this person is and how to find him. Lee Ho is ready to talk about it, but first he wants to understand why the Khan is looking for the killer and what his goals are. Now that they were back at the tower, he had learned something important, and now he knew that on the Day of Blood, all the characteristics of the killers would blossom and the slaughter would begin. Khan has information about the approaching Day of Blood, but this requires the cooperation of other assassins. Ever since Soya named Lee Ho as her main target, he has been constantly thinking about the Day of Blood. If the assassin kills Lee Ho on the Day of Blood, he will receive extremely high scores, so Lee Ho becomes the main target. It will be interesting to understand her true nature. Sometimes she is very cruel, and sometimes she looks like a normal person. Now that Lee Ho knows Han's true goal, he can't let him continue. He must deal with him on this floor, even if it costs him too much, even if he has to go to any lengths. A little later, the rabbit Kim Kim approached him. He turned his attention to the boy who killed the mammoth leader. From this moment on, the tower will accept volunteers to kill players. Too many players survived because Lee Ho killed the hidden mammoth, and that's a problem for the rabbit. He had hoped that at least 4 would die, and now he is very upset. He could have killed 4 players randomly, but that's too uninteresting, so he came up with this method. You can get a special reward for killing a player, so it's best to choose the easiest target. One of the players started talking rudely to the rabbit, saying that they were not going to satisfy all his desires. This rabbit only provoked but never attacked them, although he asked to be respected. At first, it seemed that Kim Kim was nothing to be afraid of. He was just an ordinary animal who wouldn't do anything. It seemed that until that moment the rabbit had not cut off the hand of the boy who had insulted him. Now he will finally understand that he needs to treat a middle-level manager more seriously. Rabbit Kim Kim hates being ignored and is not ready to forgive anyone for treating him this way. Now he's ready to go into the real world and kill everyone around him, unless they start killing each other. He realized that he had no choice. If he didn't do it, no one else would. That's why he raised his hand and said that he was ready to fight against the Khan. This was a fight not for life, but for death. Soon a special mission began. No matter what happened, this murderer must be destroyed once and for all. Han had no intention of killing Lee Ho at all, and did not expect him to choose him as his opponent, but he was ready to accept the challenge. This battle really deserves special attention because, theoretically, the Khan is stronger than his opponent. He has more experience in close combat, and he also has an extraordinary sword aura. Now that they have started fighting, Lee Ho feels the difference in levels even more. Even with his swordsmanship skills, he still cannot defend himself from his opponent's attacks. These deadly blows to Khan force him to sink to depths from which it will be difficult to escape. Khan is really enjoying this battle. He can already taste the blood in his mouth. Losing concentration is a major mistake during battle. It can cost you your life. In the most difficult moment for himself, he easily called for help from a kangaroo and made the right choice. Now the two of them will fight against this deadly beast. Maybe at least this way they will have a chance of victory. Khan finally forgot about his constant smile, got angry, and said that he would kill them all now. Back while hunting the mammoth leader, Lee Ho found the Khan's only weakness. Of course, his sword aura is incredibly powerful, but it requires a very large amount of mana. He uses all his skills at full power, and because of this, his mana is depleted very quickly. His attacks are difficult to predict, but with the sensitivity skill, it becomes possible to dodge them. If you hold out until the killer runs out of mana, you can send this scum to hell. This plan was simple and seemed brilliant, but sometimes even the best laid plans can fail. It must be admitted that this killer turned out to be much stronger than expected. Lee Ho underestimated his enemy and paid the price with the life of his pet. Lee Ho said that there was a way to become stronger without killing, and it must be admitted that he really made progress this way. His mistake was that he relied on his kangaroo instead of doing all the dirty work himself. Now he is on his knees before the killer, but he is not going to give up and accept his defeat. All this makes Khan laugh. He has never felt love for animals and has never known what true compassion is. He believes that the more people become attached to something, the weaker they become. Maybe it's all a cliche, but Lee Ho is sure that all these battles with his friends have only made him stronger. A peaceful life is what makes them human, and he is ready to fight for his ideals to the last drop of blood. The bloody path will only lead to loneliness. It is the choice of psychopaths and madmen. Of course, the Khan was not going to agree with these words, so he took out his sword and decided to end this conversation. The aura of an assassin's sword versus the skills of an average swordsman. Now we'll see who wins. After the huge explosion, everything around was like fog. Only a little later did Lee Ho become visible. He was very lucky that his swordsmanship skills improved at the last moment and helped him deliver a powerful blow. This attack takes almost the entire mana level. Its effectiveness is insignificant, but the destructive power is extremely high. He destroyed the killer, but paid too dear a price and lost his close friend. He apologizes to Kensu for not being able to save his life. This will be a lesson for him. The system reported that the kangaroo could be summoned again in 24 hours, which meant that all was not lost. Kim Kim appeared on the screen. He expected a completely different outcome of this battle. He likes obedient people and congratulates Li Ho on his victory. But that doesn't mean he can relax. Each subsequent mission would be more difficult because the Khan was not only one of the strongest in the tower, he was a part of that tower. Now that one of the killers is dead, the missions will become even more difficult and brutal. The more killers they stop, the harder it will be to climb, but if the killers are not stopped, a real disaster will happen. The rabbit said that it was time for Li Ho to go on a second mission, along with his special reward. He found himself in an unknown place and began to look around. There was too much light here. This is a mission in the space of mind and time. It is necessary to achieve a level of success in training until the sand in the clock runs out. If you fail this task, the player will die, so you must do everything possible to succeed. Next to him, Li Ho saw an old man who had just woken up. It seems that this is his reward for his past success. This old man stood up and said that he was a celestial demon who would become a master for Li Ho. From the very beginning, he is ready to start training the boy because they don't have much time. Li Ho prepared to defend himself, but his skills were not even enough to stop the wooden stick. His body doesn't have time to react to the master's blows. Even the sensitivity technique doesn't help. This is surprising because his speed and reaction indicators are at the maximum level. But sometimes you need something more to defeat a master. Li Ho had been taught since childhood not to hit old men, so today all those rules would have to be forgotten. He prepared for a difficult battle in which he was not going to spare anyone. The guy used the skill of a mid-level swordsman and began his attack. It turned out that all of this was nothing to protect this experienced celestial demon. He calls the fencer's technique just child's play, and it's better to forget about it. You need to clear your mind to learn real fighting techniques. Li Ho is not going to give up his skills. He does not trust this old man and is afraid of making a mistake. If it weren't for his fencer's technique, he wouldn't have lived to this point, so he doesn't want to forget anything. He must have completely forgotten that if he didn't make progress, he would die in this space, with time getting shorter and shorter with every second. He doesn't want to start over because he trained for a long time to reach an average level of fencer. The elder explained that the smaller the vessel, the more it is fixated on the contents, thinking that this is all it has. He is not going to force anyone. Li Ho must choose for himself, leave everything as it is, or accept his teachings and reach a new level. Now the guy has to make one of the hardest choices of his life. Soon he knelt before the master and asked him to teach him swordsmanship. From now on, he is ready to be the disciple of this old heavenly demon. They immediately began training, and after removing his past skills, Li Ho quickly regained his skill level. He trained against his double and became stronger and stronger with every passing minute. In about 3 days, he was able to become much more powerful than he was before. After that, it was time to thank the master for the training and continue on your own path. Grandpa reminded the boy that he was still at the trash level, but that was enough for the entry level. A has much more potential than expected. If he continues to train, he will be able to make even greater progress. From this moment on, they must become even closer to each other and behave like father and son. They will now begin learning swordsmanship, which has been improved with the foundation of the unique celestial demon technique. This is the greatest fencing of all time, the ghost sword technique. Let's talk about the old master. He has been called the greatest genius in the history of martial arts. When he was 29 years old, he unified the 7 paths of the Jongma cult and then took the throne of the heavenly Jongma. Back then, he was called the greatest and most powerful leader on the entire continent, and he was in the prime of his power. Thus, the art of the sword was born. He achieved unity with the sword and ended up in this tower. Only when he found himself here did he realize that his journey was not yet complete. He signed a contract with the tower and now fulfills his role here. He can return to his world at any time, so if you believe his words, all the characters here are like NPCs. Li Ho will be able to master sword skills of incredible power. This technique is called the Ghost Sword. Li Ho promised to put in his best effort and train hard. To master this technique, you will have to suffer and be ready for absolutely anything. Restoring the previous level turned out to be quite simple. You just had to follow the previous path. The sword technique proved to be calm and effective, soft and powerful. This technique was honed by the greatest genius of all time throughout his life, so it won't be easy. A little later, it was time to start the battle with the master and show what Li Ho had learned. He is weaker than usual now, but he has no right to give up because time is running out. The battle began and Li Ho struck the first blow. Apparently, the celestial demon managed to dodge. He dodged the boy's attacks and didn't even strain. The master wasn't even going to use his hands to fight. He is on a completely different level of skill, and his speed is extraordinary considering his age. In order to experience the ghost sword technique, You need to activate the texture. Only by looking at the world from a different angle can you discover your extraordinary abilities. Everything around has its own texture, and that's what the celestial demon is talking about all the time. If Li Ho can feel it, then incredible opportunities in this world will open up for him. He will be able to do absolutely anything. He will be able to do what is usually called a miracle. The ghost sword can even cut through non-material objects, all with the help of texture. Li Ho must attack the master again and demonstrate what he has learned in all this time. He did so, and part of the celestial demon's wand was cut off. This is what the true ghost sword technique means. It is something beyond comprehension.